the Suns. It's one of the great traditions in our game. It's in my blood. My dad, Brian, played 51 games for the mighty Fitzroy Lions. That's how I got to Brisbane, and the rest, as they say, is history.
But the Lions have gone back to back to back.
There's something special about watching the son of a gun wear the same colours as his father. It's such a unique part of our game. I love it. Tonight, a group of talented young men will get to realise their AFL dreams.
Pick number 1, NAB AFL Draft.
Among them is another son of a gun, Will Ashcroft. He's the son of my old teammate, three-time Brisbane Lions premiership great, Marcus Ashcroft. Good luck on your journey, Will, and good luck to all of the 2022 NAB AFL draftees. We'll all be watching.
Watch as the fire rages, our hearts are never tame, 'cause we
It is one of the most important nights of the football year as the superstars of tomorrow find their AFL homes on night 1 of the National Draft, live and exclusive right here on Fox Footy. We have some of the top talent expected to be picked up tonight, plus list bosses, recruiting teams and coaches all gathered at Marvel Stadium. It is going to be a massive night ahead, and we will have all the action as it unfolds live. Hello and welcome to Fox Footy's coverage of the 2022 National Draft. It is a big welcome to former St Kilda champion and Fox Footy analyst Lee Montagna, Mick Ablett, a draft guru, and the godfather of the draft back for his 30th year, Kevin Shifter-Sheehan. It is such a special night. Dreams will be made over the next couple of hours.
Yeah, very exciting. The shutdowns are over. We've had State League footy played all year. We've had national championships, and all the speculation is now finished. It's decision time for the AFL clubs. I can't wait. Let's get on with it.
Yeah, look, strap yourselves in at home. This is going to be a draft unlike the last 2 or 3 years. There's deals and trades and machinations being thrown all over the place as of even the last few minutes. We've seen 4 clubs hit the Bombers up for the notorious, or what's become the infamous pick 4 of this year's draft. So get excited, stay tuned to the TV. There's a bit to play out here.
We will head to Marvel Stadium and check in with David Zeta shortly to find out exactly what is going on with the Bombers and that pick number 4. Joey, do you remember getting drafted back in 2001? Seems a lifetime ago.
It certainly is, Jonesy. 21 years ago, times have changed. I was watching it at Internet Cafe at Schoolies on the Gold Coast. So fair to say it was a big night, but it is very exciting for the young men, but not only the young men, their families, their friends, their junior footy clubs, their schools, everyone that's had a vested interest in their careers, because tonight, for a lot of them, they get to live out their dream.
So tonight it is the GWS Giants that have the coveted first pick in the draft. They were active players during the trade period and aggressively sought to trade up to pick 1. North Melbourne with 2 and 3 will be busy, and as we said, the Bombers at 4. Some stuff going on there. We will get to the bottom of that shortly. But it is the Giants that have the biggest hand to play, and it was a clear strategy during the trade period because they saw someone that they wanted.
Yeah, it certainly was. And look, this is now the most amount of top 30 picks any team's had over the last 5 seasons, and it does look as if there's been a bit of a strategy change. They drafted a lot of the midfield types, and last year they got Lee Lear because they needed that extra defender, and now it looks like they're going to get that key forward that they're after, really to replace Jeremy Cameron. They haven't found that replacement yet since Jeremy Cameron, but Adam Cadman certainly looks like he's at the top of the tree for the GWS Giants. And, you know, Adam Kingsley, he had a great relationship with Nick Riewoldt. Nick Riewoldt credited a lot of his success to what Adam Kingsley was able to teach him. So his first senior year at the job with the Giants, hopefully he can do something similar for Cadman.
And the parallels between Cadman and Jeremy Cameron continue. We know that he's mentored him. He is the player that we liken him to, and an incredibly exciting athletic prospect.
It only took a couple of weeks into the season to see the likeness be talked about. David Loader, the coach, coached Cameron, he coached Cadman. He can see the likeness, but we can see it too. This boy was the biggest improver of the year. Within a month of the year starting, we'd noticed he had grown from, in an 18-month period, about 6 centimetres. He'd become a marking target up forward, a left footer that got on his bike a fair bit. He worked very, very hard. He's got vice-like hands as well, so his marking's a real feature of his play. And he started to hit the scoreboard. He was put into the Australian under-18 team after about 5 weeks. So all of that was massive improvement and very exciting player he is.
I think it's fair to say 12 months ago he wasn't even sure what his best position was he really? And now he's going to catapult to number one.
No, absolutely. And we saw his scout profile just there on the screen. They're elite numbers. So he's not a 10 possession, 4 or 5 goal type of player. He's a high possession getter that can really get up and down the ground and give you some versatility. His spatial awareness is what's elite for mine. He can mark him forward. He can nudge his defender under the ball. He can take it over the top. He's an elite talent, and make no mistake, he belongs in this conversation as number one pick.
Speaking of number ones, is Will Ashcroft the best performed player in this draft pool?
Hands down, absolutely. I think if you look at what he's been able to do, and this is the mark of an elite player and what you want to see, he's done it at every level. He's done it through the NAB League games. He's done it through the NAB AFL Under-18 Championships. VFL level, he put a best on-ground performance in there. And when you watch his vision of when he was playing at that level, he just looks like he belongs at senior footy.
Oh, look, he's a jet in my book, the best performed player. His profile's like Sam Walsh or a Nick Dacos. Doesn't drop below that 9 out of 10 virtually in the way he prepares and then plays in his matches. An exciting player to watch. He can bury goals from 50 metres as well. He's going to be a great pickup, and we presume the Lions would match any bid that may well come.
Well, those players we saw him compared to are some of the highest ranked players we've seen in the NAB League over the last 10 years or so, and every one of them really, they're ball magnets at junior level, they go on to be ball magnets at AFL level. It generally stacks up when you have that much quality. So Will Ashcroft, he'll fit in at AFL level, no problem.
All right, we're going to compare him to someone else of other son that has made a remarkable AFL contribution in a short amount of time, and that's Nick Dacos, of course. Much talked about a superstar debut season for the Pies. How do they stack up against each other?
Very, very well. Look, they're two of the absolute elite juniors we've seen in modern times. And, when you watch Nick Dacos at under-18 level, he's just been able to step straight into AFL and play the same sort of role, play in the same manner. Just the composure he's got on his hands, his ability to think his way through scenarios and execute in the right manner. And Will Ashcroft, Joey, he's just another very, very mature head that when you watch him and the way he can work his way through a contest, I love his ability to scan and execute is what really stood out to me.
But the gut run also, at that age, for those players to be able... The reason why they get so much ball is they've got the gut run, but they know where to get to. They get to the next contest, they link up really well, and we've seen it already with Nick Dacos. He's been able to, apply that at AFL level, and that's why I think Will Ashcroft will make a smooth transition.
All right, speaking of smooth operator Brad Johnson is joining us throughout the night at Marvel Stadium. He will conduct interviews with all of the superstar players coming through, and right now he's got a coach alongside him and Chris Fagan.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, it's a big night for the Brisbane Lions. And Chris, we're just looking at the highlights of Will Ashcroft. Put a pretty big smile on your face.
Oh, yeah, he's a wonderful person to start with. He's got a real performance mindset. He works hard to get the best out of himself. And, he had a game earlier in the year where he played for us against the Sydney Swans. And to be honest, if he had been available the next week, he probably would have been pretty close to being in the seniors. So we're really excited to have him. We've been able to build a great relationship over the last 12 months or so because he's been up to train with us, and we're all very excited at our club to have him join us.
And another father-son in Jasper Fletcher as well. What type of player is he?
Yeah, Jasper, well, he's sort of more of a wingman half-forward at the moment, but I think he could develop into a hybrid sort of a mid-player as well. He's got great skills. He's always got a smile on his face. Again, a guy that we've got to know fairly well because he's been able to train with us, and it's an absolute bonus for us that we're able to have two really talented young players come to our club.
And it's not the only success you've had in the off-season as well. When you look at the recruits of Josh Dunkley and Jack Gunston also coming to the club.
Yeah, two players that have got great leadership attributes I think will really help our group. Josh will add more depth to our midfield, and, Jack Gunston's one of the smartest players I've ever been involved with, so we're looking forward to his input.
And Connor McKenna adds a bit of run. That's a surprise.
A little bit of speed, yeah, so that was a bonus right at the end. Our recruiting and list management team did a great job this year, so hopefully they'll all help us in the next season.
Well, we're not going to wipe that smile off your face over the summer, Chris. Congratulations on your trade period and tonight also. Back to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Jono, and to Chris Fagan. Yes, a big night ahead for the Brisbane Lions. There's plenty of buzz around at the moment surrounding the Essendon Football Club. We're going to go to Fox Footy reporter David Zeder for the latest. Zeets, what is happening?
Evening to you, Jonesy. Look, Essendon seem to be at the centre of the headlines this year, for better or for worse. So we know that pick 4 is on the table, and there are clubs, up to 4 clubs, and Melbourne and the Western Bulldogs are 2 of those clubs that are interested in trying to get their hands on pick 4. We know the D's are really keen on Bailey Humphrey. It's a player who the Gold Coast Suns, we believe they are eyeing off with pick 6. So the D's want to try and jump them and leapfrog them and get ahead of the pack. Mateus Philippou is also another player who is of significant interest in this draft, and Essendon's very keen on. We know that Brad Scott, the Essendon coach, is very keen on Elijah Sardis, so that's another pick 4 consideration. The latest indications are that this trade might not happen and that the Bombers are pretty keen to stick firm with pick 4. But as we know on draft night, anything can happen. And as we speak and as we sit here tonight, pick 4 currently still being spoken about in dialogue with 4 other clubs in the bid to try and get up the draft order and shake up night 1 of the draft, Sarah.
Thank you very much, David. We will know soon enough. Sometimes it is much ado about nothing, isn't it? There's all the talk and it ends up just being status quo, Joey.
Yeah, look, I think it would have to be a pretty special offer for them to want to trade away pick 4. But, yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see. There's a lot of high-end talent, so we'll just have to wait.
Speaking of high-end talent, one guy who certainly is Harry Sheezel. Now, we know he's from the Sandy Dragons. He's grown up a mad Hawthorn supporter. All indications are at the moment that he's going to go to North Melbourne. When we have a picture, which is absolutely stunning, of him with Buddy Franklin.
Look at that.
Look how little he is.
How old must Bud feel? Yeah, he must be feeling quite old right now.
So that is Harry Sheezel, who is one of the top picks tonight. We are expecting him to go to North Melbourne, and there is the current coach of Hawthorn, Sam Mitchell. But, wow, that is pretty special. So, and there he is now.
All grown up.
All grown up. Hawthorn fan, I'm sure he'll be pretty happy no matter where he ends up today. You're always a mad fan until you end up at the club. Who'd you barrack for growing up? St Kilda champion?
I was Collingwood as a kid, but it's very quickly your allegiances change. All of a sudden your family all go for the new team that you play for. So, yeah, he might have his mum and dad might have to be Kangaroo supporters, I would think.
All right, the time for talk is almost over. On the other side of this break, we will begin the 2022 National Draft. All the top picks in the land are sitting nervously by, awaiting the first pick from the GWS Giants. We will have that coming up right here on Fox Footy.
Sardis, long inside 50. What a fly from the side, Brzezinski.
Jed, welcome to Melbourne.
Thanks very much. Good to be here.
How are the nerves leading into this week?
Yeah, they've been pretty good. I've tried to keep myself occupied recently, but the last couple of days have felt really long, and just constantly the mind's on it at the moment.
Now, we met each other firstly in 2012, where you were the NAB AFL Oz Kicker of the Year. Time's flown since there. What have you been up to?
I've been at school, just finished school last year and starting uni this year, but footy's sort of been all the main passion, all I've thought about since then. It's always been a dream of mine, and NAB's helped me along the way to get there, so really happy with that.
When I take you back, can you remember the time when we got to spend the year together?
Yeah, I remember it all perfectly, pretty much. All the whole week, going to the grand final parade and being on the MCG on grand final day, and then obviously having you for a year as a mentor of mine. Did you ever think you would see a NAB AFL Oz Kicker of the Year get into the AFL?
Well, I've probably always hoped. I haven't seen individuals come through like you and grow as big as you, but what I have is seen smile on kids' faces, which has been an absolute joy. But you're going to be the first one. I'm really proud of you, mate.
What's one piece of advice that you could leave me with going into the draft?
You understand why you love the game right now, and try and continue that on even through the hard moments that you've got coming up in your career, and just love the game. You know, I love the game, and held me in good stead. Good luck, mate.
Thank you.
NAB, more than money.
Jed towering over the premiership skipper in Joel Selwood there, from Oz kicker to hopefully tonight AFL player. It's a great story, Joey.
Another one that's all grown up, but I want Brad Johnson to ask what happened to the blonde curls. Where have they all gone? Look at it now. Gee whiz.
What a great story it is if he is picked up tonight. Well, we will begin the draft now. We're going to head to Marvel Stadium, where a man who went pick number 13 back in the 2001 draft will be hosting proceedings. Nick Del Santo, a warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Sarah. A warm welcome to you and everybody in the room this evening. Now, before we get underway, with the announcement of our newest AFL recruits, I will take you through the rules of the draft. The draft selection number and name of the club will be called out according to the draft order. Each club will have 5 minutes to electronically submit their selection for approval by the AFL list management team. Clubs can draft a player from an opposing club's next generation academy. The opposing club cannot match that selection until after selection 41. If the draftee has entered the draft as a nominated father-son prospect, then the nominated club will have the opportunity to match that bid. Clubs may exchange current and next year's future selections during the NAB AFL draft. A selection on the clock may also be traded. And a selection not on the clock may be traded by a club at any other time prior to the conclusion of tonight's draft. No extra time is allowed for trading a selection which is on the clock. Tonight we will be celebrating each of the round one selections individually. Some are in the room with us tonight, some of us will be watching from home. As such, please note that when each selection is announced, the next club is automatically on the clock. Now, to officially open the 2022 NAB AFL Draft, it's my pleasure to welcome to the stage the Executive General Manager of Football Operations, Mr. Andrew Dillon.
Thank you, Nick, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2022 NAB AFL Draft. Tonight's an exciting time for the AFL competition and also for the many players who are with us here at Marvel Stadium tonight or eagerly watching around the country, all patiently waiting, all hoping to hear their names called and to be able to realise their dreams of becoming an AFL footballer. We've received over 800 draft nominations from players in every state and territory around the country. This is a clear indicator that our game is strong and our pathways continue to develop the best Australian sporting talent. It's a life-changing moment for a player to hear his name called. And regardless of what number you are selected, it is an achievement in itself to have the opportunity to play the game at the highest level. To those of you selected, your new clubs will provide you with the tools and teachings to be successful. However, it's up to each and every one of you to determine how you use these opportunities to write your own future. I wish you all the best of luck. On behalf of the AFL, I'd like to acknowledge and extend our thanks to our long-standing partner, NAB. NAB's support of the AFL Rising Star program is crucial to our ability to create a world-class talent pathway for young footballers, of which this draft is the culmination. The time has come. The 2022 NAB AFL Draft starts now, and the Giants have selection number 1.
So enormous pressure and expectation always attached to the number 1 draft pick and plenty of intrigue around the Giants. The question is, will they bid on Will Ashcroft at 1 or will they back Cadman in as expected? It's a really complex decision.
Yeah, it is. It's an interesting conversation because there is the element of wanting to get the Brisbane Lions to pay maximum for Will Ashcroft, who most people believe is the best player to come out of this crop this year, but also the Giants moved up in the draft, didn't they, Mick? Because they wanted their man, and their man is Aaron Cadman. So should they try and actually match the bid or just take Cadman? I think they just take Cadman and leave it to the other teams.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you, Joey. I like to see the GWS Giants call out their man. I like to see their footy club splash nationally all over every newspaper and get maximum exposure for the footy club. And not just that, but, you know, Aaron Cadman warrants going at pick number 1 if that's who they choose. And that's who we want to see. We want to see that young man celebrated, all the hype and everything that comes with it. Forget the pressure. He's on an AFL list now. There'll be enough pressure anyway. And you know, from my understanding, he's a very, very high-quality young man that deserves to be in that position.
Joey, how quickly can the Giants bounce? They were 16th this season, obviously a new coach in Kingsley. I understand they're using the Pies as a bit of an inspiration. Things can quickly turn around in this game.
Well, it is. It's a great example. You've only got to look 12 months to see that a lot of people thought that Collingwood were maybe a bottom 4 team and might have lacked some depth, but a new coach comes in, a new game plan. They played with some spirit and passion, and really their top-end talent played to a really high level. So the Giants still have a lot of top-end talent, and if they can reach their potential, a few of them didn't quite, you never know.
With pick 1, the Giants have selected Aaron Cadman from the Greater Western Victorian Rebels and the Darley Junior Football Netball Club.
Presenting the jumper for GWS is Toby Green.
In the heat of the rumble, I ain't got nothing to lose. I've been fighting these hard times in the ghettos of my mind. That was victory.
Please now welcome Tom Dobson, General Manager, Planning, Performance and Partnerships at NAB, to present Aaron Cadman with a portfolio to the value of $10,000 and will also receive a dedicated private client manager thanks to NAB.
Aaron, congratulations. Fantastic. #1 draft pick in the national draft. You look around the room and you see all the #1 picks that are here, part of history. You're now a part of that history. How does it feel?
Yeah, thanks, Jono. It's so special. I never in a million years would I have thought I'd be in this position, and to share it with my family and friends and all these people in the room, it's super special.
Throughout the year, you had to set a lot of goals, I understand. You worked really closely with your coach in Dave Loader. How important was that from progressing through the ranks throughout this year?
Yeah, Deeks was massive for me. We sat down at the start of the year, and that was when I was a wingman, actually, and he sat me down at the start of the year and said, we might throw you down forward as a key position forward, and it worked out pretty well, I guess. So, yeah, no, I can't thank Deeks enough. He's been huge.
And what are some of the conversations been like with GWS in the lead-up to the draft, and what position have they sort of spoken to you about possibly playing?
We haven't really spoken too much about the position that I'll be playing, but it's just more the sort of stuff where I'll be staying and who I'll be staying with, and I just can't wait to get cracking into it and meet all the boys.
It's not bad meeting Toby Green straight up?
Yeah, no, I'd shook his hand before, had a good conversation with him. He's the best bloke I've ever met, so yeah, no, I can't wait to get cracking.
You got a big smile, and you should, because it's a huge honour. Congratulations, #1 pick in the national draft.
Appreciate it, John.
Well done, mate.
From one beaming smile in Brad Johnson to another in Aaron Cadman. A sensational player, and we've spoken a lot about the attributes that are seeing him compared to Jeremy Cameron, the Coleman medalist.
Well, this is why. This is one example. So this was from a kick-in where Aaron Cadman got up the ground, up towards the wing. He got involved a couple of times, and then just have a look at this. We measured this kick out. He's just stabbed that one 70 metres for a goal, but he's got that ability to roam up the ground. He's not just a full forward that's anchored at home. He likes to get on his bike. He's got that ability, but he's also got forward craft. He's got natural forward craft to get separation and split from his opponents. We saw that through the champs. He had the most shots at goal of any player in that championships. So he can do that, but he's also competitive and can take a contested mark. So really, Shifter, he ticks all the boxes you really want from a key forward. He can do it all.
And I love what he does in the big moments of games too. There was the decider we'll probably talk a bit about tonight between Vic Metro and Vic Country to work out the national championship, and he put his side in front in a big moment, and it wasn't a lead-up mark and goal. It was one that was taken as a crumb, but a very important goal for his team. But he's doing that all year.
Nick, the Giants love his personality and the buy-in they think they'll get from this young man with what's a young football club.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's come across very clearly, hasn't it? In the build-up to this year's draft, we've seen his personality. He's humble, but he's excited, and it's a really good quality trait to have. I mean, who better to present his jumper than Toby Green, and what a person to learn from, to bring excitement and passion and energy to the group. And look, Aaron Cadman's ability one-on-one is what, you know, as you mentioned, Joey, that really separates him. I love his ability to move late. He protects the drop zone, really moves into that space late, and he's ready for AFL football, no doubt.
And it certainly doesn't hurt that he played on the wing, really, the year before that. He just said that. So he's got that experience to play through the midfield, which will help him as well, that he's not just going to be someone that's going to be anchored deep. He's got that ability to get up, like we've seen Jeremy Cameron do, and become, you know, the best player in the competition.
How quickly did the Giants work him into their senior side?
It's a good question. He's probably one that doesn't need to take too long. There are some others and some other key forwards in this draft that might take a bit longer. I think he's one that could play games next year, absolutely. And I think where they're at with their development, the Giants, they might want to try and make sure they give him some games.
All right, what a start we've had to the 2022 National Draft. Aaron Cadman taken with pick #1, as we can see there. Brisbane Lions, a bid pending on Will Ashcroft. So much spoken about on this one. It really has been one of the topics of the season, Mick.
Yeah, absolutely it has. But I think this has played out right. I really like this. I think the Brisbane Lions are being made to pay for the quality player that Will Ashcroft is. Great to see Aaron Cadman, the excitement around the genuine pick one superstar. But this kid should be 100% bid on where he is. And we've seen a couple slide in the past. But as we see there, the Brisbane Lions have been preparing for this for a long, long time, and you know, for Marcus and Will to share that, I love the nostalgia of father-son picks and sensational.
So Brisbane have been busy. They've been trading with North Melbourne for some futures and also Hawthorn. That's all about getting enough points for later on down the line with Jasper Fletcher. So a busy night already. Phones are running hot.
Yeah, wonderful with Will Ashcroft too, a boy that developed his football, his love for the game up in Queensland. Of course, Marcus was a star for the Brisbane Lions, but the boy as a junior learnt his footy. Morningside and Southport, those sorts of footy clubs, they should get the recognition. I first saw this boy at 14 playing for Queensland in national under-15s, made All-Australian, then way ahead of his time.
Brisbane have matched North Melbourne's bid and with pick 2 select Will Ashcroft from the Sandy Dragons and Old Brighton Grammarians.
Presenting the jumper for Brisbane is coach Chris Fagan.
As Brownie said in the opener, the father-son rule is one of the best parts of our game, Joey, and the Brisbane Lions are picking up a bona fide start.
It is. It's one of the great traditions in our game and we all love it, but it also at the moment is one of the great advantages for some teams. And when we saw it with Collingwood last year and how they were able to get Nick Dacos and now the Brisbane Lions, we heard from Chris Fagan how lucky they are. They're not going to get just one, but 2 father-son prospects and the best kid in the country. I mean, we've spoken a lot about what he's able to do, the comparisons with Nick Dacos. He's certainly a player that just racks up the footy and I think will slot in seamlessly at AFL level.
Lark medal as the best player throughout the National Under-18 Championships. Shifter, this is someone that you've had your eye on for a very long time and all the recruiters have as well. They know exactly what they're getting.
It doesn't miss a beat. In fact, last year we had few representative games, but we had Victoria play Metro v Country on a couple of occasions. And on the first of those games, he made a statement. He was best on the ground. He dominated 30-plus possessions, what we've seen a lot of this year, he did last year. So it was no surprise to see him unfold then as a star of this year.
OK, Brad Johnson has tracked him down for a chat.
Thanks, Sarah. Yes, Will, how do you feel? It's a little bit of a different situation for yourself, knowing that all along that you're heading to the Brisbane Lions.
Yeah, just relieved. I think, as you said, I've known for a little while, but it's still a surreal moment and I'm pretty fortunate to be in this position. So, yeah, really looking forward to getting up to Brisbane and getting into it.
Now, your dad was number 10. Have you given any thought to maybe just giving Daniel Rich a couple more years before sliding into that number?
No, I can't do that. I've got to respect Richie and he's done a lot for the footy club, so hopefully I get a number pretty close, so we'll see how we go.
What's it been like over the years being a part of the Brisbane Lions environment, and also, as a second layer to that, Chris Fagan saying earlier that he may have played you this year after your performance up there in the reserves?
Yeah, that sounds nice, but there's a lot of work to be done. I think it all sort of resets now, and yeah, got a lot of work to do in the pre-season, and then yeah, sort of got to prove myself again and earn the respect of everyone.
When's it all start for you?
I'm heading up Wednesday and I'll kick straight into gear, I think.
I'm sure you will, Will. Congratulations again.
Thanks, John. I appreciate it.
So Will Ashcroft already knows the plan of attack for a lot of the players drafted tonight. It'll be a move into state and life will be thrown into chaos and they've got to move quickly. But I suppose for Will, he's known what's in place and can get that program kick-started straight away.
With pick 3, North Melbourne select Harry Sheasel from the Sandringham Dragons and Ajax Junior Football Club.
Presenting the jumper for North Melbourne is coach Alistair Clarkson.
So Harry, who is a lifelong Hawthorn fan, gets his jumper from the North Melbourne coach. Of course, former Hawthorn legendary coach, and this is a player with X factor. He has got talent to burn, Joey.
Yeah, I liken him to Stevie J with the footy IQ that he has and as good a goal sense as we've seen for a long time. You just watch a couple of these edits. His front and square work is as good as anyone's already at his age. You see this one, all the traffic's going to the side, the back of the stoppage. He knows exactly where the drop zone is. He just finds a way. He's got multiple ways of kicking goals. He can do it at ground level. He can take a mark and win contest. Here he's out of position. He doesn't panic. He just gets to the front. Look how quick he gets ball to boot. I just think he's a beautiful player that's going to liven up the forward 50 for North Melbourne. It's sometimes a tough role, playing sort of in that, inside forward 50, but if there's a guy that can be a match winner with some X factor, it's this one.
Yeah, absolutely, and you look at his scout profile there, so he's averaging the 14 and a half disposals, but it's the damage he does when he's got it. I see Christian Petracca when I watch this young man. I just think the way he moves physically, his ability around goals, and just that innate sense that he can take the footy off hands at a stoppage. I just think he's an absolute star and exactly what the Kangas need.
Brad Johnson, we are already excited about seeing Harry play. He sounds like an incredibly exciting talent.
Yeah, he certainly is. Those highlights were brilliant. I hear you modelled your game on Toby Green and Connor Rozee. Yep. Did you give a little high five to Toby Green on the way past then?
No, I didn't. Cam Guthrie, but yeah, I did model my game around Toby. He's such a great player, and yeah, someone I've watched over the years to try and implement what he's done.
What sort of things do you learn when you watch players of that calibre?
Oh, just nearly everything they do, the way they go about their footy. The main thing for me is consistency. That's something I probably struggle with a bit this year, so learning off players' consistency is the main one.
And it's been a big year for the Sandringham Dragons.
Yeah, I won my first flag with the Dragons, which was an incredible night. Then we backed it up 6 days later with Vic Metro, so it was a special week.
Is that why your voice is a bit raspy?
Because
you've been celebrating that premiership for this long?
Nah, it was a good month or so, and yeah, I don't know what's happened to the voice.
No, I'm only joking, Harry. Now, it's a great opportunity, though, isn't it, to join the North Melbourne Footy Club at this particular time with new coach Alistair Clarkson?
Oh, yeah, I'm so grateful to North Melbourne for giving me this opportunity. I think the club's in really good hands now with Clarko and now new staff as well, and I think they've got a really young, exciting list, so yeah, I'm ready to get into it.
I think there's a role for you straight away, Harry. Congratulations.
Thanks, John, I appreciate it.
Well done.
Beautifully spoken there by Harry. These young men are so impressive, not just playing, but also off the field. They're talented as well.
Well, you want to go to the footy to watch kids like this. So I did it underage level, was looking forward to the tricks that he'd show me in a game. A clean, mercurial type of player. He's all of that. 49 goals for the year. He's just going to be a sensational player for the Kangaroos.
So the Kangaroos have back-to-back picks in tonight's draft. It was 2 and 3. It slid down to 3 and 4, and the pick's in.
With pick 4, North Melbourne select George Wardlaw from the Oakley Chargers and St Peters Junior Football Club.
Melbourne is midfielder Ben Cunnington.
And Mick, this is a big game player with a really good athletic profile.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Jonesy, I saw his game for the academy against Collingwood's VFL team, and his second half was as good a second half as you'll ever see a junior play. So, and Joey, you've been all over his lab stuff, mate. Just fill us in on what you've been able to see and the importance of what he does here.
Well, you just see there, he's just really an inside bull. I mean, Ben Cunnington presented him with the jumper. He's going to love playing alongside this bloke. This is the game you were speaking about, Mick, where he showed some real tricks. He's not only just an inside bull, but he also does have that athleticism, doesn't he, Shifter? He's got some power in his game. At the start of the year, there was some recruiters saying he was almost level pegging with Will Ashcroft. Now, Will had a super year and George had some injuries, which has meant that he's slightly swapped, but I think this is a great get for Kangaroos.
Just think Clayton Oliver, for the fans out there trying to picture the way he plays. He loves the contest. If he doesn't get it, he's going to make you earn it. Those little gentle hugs he's given there before, you won't see any of those in a game of footy that George Wardlaw's in. Just love that streak through him, that white line fever type streak.
What sort of advantage is it, Joey, when a club does have back-to-back picks in the draft? You know, obviously, what to expect on the pick before. You're able to shape what you're aiming for a little more specifically.
Yeah, there is. You've obviously got a bit more certainty with what you want to go with, and you can get a little bit more balance with who you want to select. You can have that nice, which I think they've done really well. They've got the classy forward, you know, the talent in the front half is really crucial in the modern game, and backed it up with an elite midfielder. I think they've done super here. You could easily say they could have been the number 2 and 3 players on the board for some clubs, so I think the Kangaroos have done it really nicely.
Which is obviously why the Kangaroos did what they did during the trade period. All right, let's meet George. He is with Brad Johnson.
Thank you, Sarah. Well, George, it was mentioned there, and Mick Ablett said on the coverage that he loved your game for Australia against Collingwood, playing for the AFL Academy. What did you take from that experience?
Yeah, it was an unreal experience, really. We had a good group of boys in there, and yeah, the fact that we were representing our country meant a lot to us. So yeah, we went out there and did the best we could.
How'd you go playing against the bigger bodies and that experience as well?
Yeah, you're not sure. You know, I've never played against a senior side before, so going in was a bit nervous, but I think I held my own in the end.
You had to have your deal with your own challenges too throughout the year. You had a couple of hamstring injuries along the way. Knowing that it's an important year for yourself, how did you handle that?
Yeah, it was definitely frustrating, and yeah, I was a bit scared at some points, but I had a good certain people in my year who were giving me positive input, and had good teammates as well who helped me along. So yeah, happy in the end.
More importantly, how's the body now, and you're ready to hit the ground running?
Yep, absolutely. Feeling good. Had a few trainings. Yeah, and all's good so far. So yeah, keen.
How'd you go looking Ben Cunnington in the eyes as he presented your jumper?
Awesome. Unreal experience. Yeah.
I'm sure it was. He's going to be a great teammate as well. Congratulations, George.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Good stuff, and congratulations to George there. All right, this next pick, all eyes on the Bombers Brain Trust, because this is the pick that will shape the rest of the first round. A lot of talk about whether they're prepared to take it, and the pick's in.
With pick 5, Essendon select Elijah Sardis from the Oakleigh Chargers and the Surrey Park Junior Football Club.
Presenting the jumper for Essendon is club legend Matthew Lloyd.
What a moment, they're getting the jumper, the great red and black sash from Matthew Lloyd. And Elijah is a player who's been incredibly highly rated for a while, but missed a chunk of the season with a foot injury.
Yeah, he did, Sarah, but I've labelled him the creator. I really think his ability to generate opportunities, not just for himself, but for teammates. And as we look at the vision here, he's a high-energy player. He really takes ground, which is important when you talk about metres gained and those sorts of things. Works back hard into defence as well, which that two-way running is absolutely vital at AFL level now. And Joey, he's a player that will certainly give Essendon's midfield a little bit of added height as well.
And a ball magnet too. He won a best and fairest off the back of just 6 games for the Oakleigh Chargers, averaged 32 for the year. He can find it, and he steps through them magnificently, finds space when there isn't any. Really liked him, and his games early this year were special.
He talked about his speed and acceleration, Mick. You can just see how often he's able to get from the outside of contests. So the comparison that came up at the bottom of the screen was like Chad Warner, because he uses that speed and power to break away. I mean, just watch this centre bounce here. You have to watch closely how quickly he reacts. He wins first possession, gives that handball, and watch how quick he reads the cues and then uses that leg speed to get to the outside. That's the modern game. That's what you need to be able to do if you want to play in the midfield. I think he's got that beautiful balance of talent and athleticism. He plays some really big games. When he gets some big numbers, he has some strong performances, he's going to be a star of the future.
186 centimetres too, so a pretty good height for a mid.
Which is what you've been wanting for, Jonesy, with the Essendon. You want that big midfielder. There's been a lot of talk about the big mid at the Bombers. Well, they now get that player that can play on the inside, but probably start his career on the outside.
And we can see there on screen the new coach of the Bombers, Brad Scott, overseeing things, and obviously the players have been meeting with the coaches and meeting with the recruiting teams. We know the Bombers had spoken with Elijah a lot in the lead-up, and we're going to head now to speak to Elijah ourselves with Jono.
Well, it's been highlighted, Sarah, about the foot fracture into a best and fairest after 6 games. Talk us through the foot fracture and coming back to playing the elite football that you did.
Yeah, it was a bit of a whirlwind, to be honest. Went down sort of in May and missed 3 months. So, yeah, sort of missed that sweet spot of the year. But, yeah, was super happy to get some continuity at the end of the year and, yeah, be rewarded with the best and fairest, which is unreal.
To hit the ground running again is a real highlight. Did you just have confidence in the people around you that you were set to go?
Absolutely. Doing my rehab to the full extent, to 100%, just gave me that confidence, and I think that showed at the back end of the year.
I think that's one of the reasons why the Bombers would have picked you up. Have you had a chance to have a chat with Brad Scott yet?
Yes, I met him last week. Yeah, super excited for what we can bring, and yeah, I think everyone at the club is super excited.
What were some of the things that he sort of spoke to you about?
Just working on my strengths, making my strengths weapons, and yeah, just exactly that. Just keep working on my strengths.
It's been a great moment for the Oakley Chargers. George Wardlaw just picked up Essendon v North next year. You line up on George. Who wins that battle?
Oh, I'd probably say George, but I'm not going to go easy on him. So.
In 6 months' time, you'll back yourself in, I'm sure. Congratulations and all the very best of the Bombers.
Appreciate it.
Well done.
Well done to Elijah there. A great moment for the young man and a great moment for the Essendon Football Club as we turn our attention to number 6 pick in the draft. It falls with the Gold Coast Suns. The pick is in. The Suns, of course, finished 12th on the ladder last year, and here's their pick.
With pick 6, the Gold Coast have selected Bailey Humphrey from the Gippsland Power and the Moe Football Netball Club.
Presenting the jumper for Gold Coast is Captain Touk Miller.
So considered one of the bolters of the draft this year, has grasped every opportunity, a great character who they believe can develop into a leader and a replacement for Rankin.
Yeah, real playmaker, this boy. Dominated early in the year. Gippsland Power up on top of the NAB League ladder, and it was a lot to do with Bailey Humphrey's form. Then had a knee injury in the middle of the year. Then come back in sensational form when he got himself right. Ended up 3rd in the Morris Medal for the best and fairest in that competition. And then played the last of the games in national championships. That decider. He could have kicked about 4 goals in the first quarter and a half. Kicked 1-3, just a bit off target, but gee, fell in love with the way he played that day. Plays with great passion as a forward or as a midfielder. And again, he's one of those boys that can find that space. He's very cool and creative with the ball in hand.
Yeah, an outstanding scout profile there. I think he's the barometer. He reminded me when he played forward a little bit of Isaac Heaney, just with his overhead marking ability and his ability to hit the scoreboard. So out of 11 games, he's kicked 4 goals on 3 occasions and kicked multiple goals on 6 of those occasions. So he's had the knee injury, but as you said, Shifter, I think he's got the ability to push up into the midfield once he gets a little bit more fitness under his belt.
And that's right, Mick, but he's the prototype of the modern-day player. He's a powerful ball that can go to stoppage, but then he can go forward. So think of, what Dusty and Dangerfield and, De Goey and Stringer, these type of players that we lauded at AFL level that can impact around stoppage, but then do this win contest inside 50, create something out of nothing, use his power, use his strength. One from the Moe Lions, I think it's their 8th player drafted now in 9 seasons, so the Moe Footy Club are doing well, but he's going to be a beauty, a player that is, I think, as you said, develop into the midfield over time, but can start his career as a real dangerous player inside 50.
Good mark for his size, and then also using those footy smarts to advantage, which is so important as well. OK, let's head to Marvel Stadium and Jono.
Well, Bailey, leadership is a part of, your skill set this year. What did you learn from captaining Gippsland?
I guess I just learnt a lot about communication and leading the boys out, and I've loved every minute of it, and yeah, I'm extremely grateful that I did it.
And so you're going to head to the Gold Coast Suns, and they've got a couple of strong leaders in themselves that I'm sure you'll learn from.
Definitely, and I can't wait to learn off them.
They've got a big engine room as well. When you look at Miller and Anderson and Rowell, how are you going to slot into that?
I don't know, I'm just going to try and earn respect from them first.
That's one of the most important things when you do enter a footy club. Now, you play in the midfield. I'm sure you like to do that. You do push forward as well. Have you got a particular role you like, or just that combination really suits you?
I think the combination really suits me, but I think towards the end of the year, I've developed more as a forward, but I can probably call myself a mid-forward, definitely.
And have you had any conversations with the Gold Coast, and if so, what were they saying to you?
Oh, they just said that, yeah, I was their favourite to go tonight and, yeah, leave on Thursday. So.
They've got an absolute ripper, so congratulations, Bailey, and good luck.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
I love that. You're our favourite and we leave on Thursday. Straight into it, Joey.
Straight into it. Perfect. Best way to do it. But it's going to be a new look forward line for the Gold Coast Suns. Of course, Ben King's going to come back from his injury. We know they've lost Isaac Rankin. Now they've got Bailey Humphrey that can start his career as a sort of, another forward that can stay at home. So it's going to be a different look along with Mabior Chol that came on last year. So a bit for Stewie Dew to work with.
So Hawthorn are up next with pick number 7. It's the 3rd year in a row they've had a top 10 pick. So Denver Granger Barris picked 6 in 2020 and Josh Ward picked 7 in 2021. We know the list is going through a period of rejuvenation. The retirement of Liam Shields and Ben McAvoy, and then Mitchell Gunston and Jago Amira exiting the club. So it was quite aggressive during the trade period. The list cutting has been quite brutal. So they look to add to that tonight with young talent.
With pick 7, Hawthorn select Cameron McKenzie from the Sandringham Dragons and the Beaumaris Football Club.
Presenting the jumper for Hawthorn is 3-time premiership player David Hale.
So Cam McKenzie, who was linked to St Kilda through their Next Generation Academy, is a very consistent and composed player, and well, he is one that the Hawthorn Football Club are going to need as part of this epic rebuild, Joey, and it's exciting times as family and friends there are cheering wildly. It's such a great time for the youngster.
He's a real smooth mover, this boy. He can play on the inside, outside, even play across half-back. The Saints would be devastated. I think they would have tried to claim him there in a couple of picks' time, but he did everything right this year, was outstanding right from the start of the year. On the outside, he's a bit like a Mitch Duncan. He uses the ball so well. His ability to drop the eyes and hit up the shorter target or assess what's in front of him very, very quickly and hit a longer one really stood out for mine. A brilliant ball winner, a part of that Sandringham Dragons premiership side, and they've been rewarded with some early picks here.
Yeah, absolutely. The first time I saw this kid, he reminded me of Sam Mitchell. So, I'm sure he'll learn a lot from his coach. But as you mentioned, Shifter, in that grand final, he had 26 and kicked 2. So he's a big game player, performed at national championship level. And I just love his calmness. If you watch him here, when he's in possession of the footy, he doesn't get rattled. And it speaks volumes for his maturity, his ability to come out either side of the stoppage. And as we see there, just spots up a forward very, very nicely going inside 50.
Yeah, that's what Sam Mitchell will love about him, the class, his ball use. He's a player that's a high score involvement player for a midfielder. He's almost every third possession leads to a score involvement, which is a really big number for a midfielder. I think the Hawks forwards are going to love leading to him. He can probably start his career across half-back, but he'll end up being an elite midfielder. Lovely composure, lovely sidestep, and as we saw there, a beautiful kick.
An incredible journey too. His backstory is fantastic. Lived in France back in 2016. His whole family went and lived in a village just outside of Nice, so he can speak French, but well, I don't know whether Brad Johnson can speak French, so Jono, maybe just do this interview in English.
I can speak a little bit, just the basics though. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Je m'appelle Brad, et toi?
Je m'appelle Cam.
There you go. So a little bit of French for everyone, very basic, I must say. Congratulations, Cam. That was that's absolutely sensational, going to the Hawthorn Footy Club. But no wonder Sandy won the grand final this year, because look at the midfield you had.
Yeah, thanks, Jono. Yeah, it's an amazing feeling to be heading to the Hawks. I grew up barring for the Hawks as well, so it makes it even more special. But yeah, on the midfield, yeah, we lucky to have a very talented side, and to play alongside Will and a couple of other superstars, it's been awesome, and something I'll never forget.
You've had some big moments yourself. You win the NAB premiership, of course, and then you won your school football as well. You performed well in the grand final. You just enjoyed the big stage this year.
Yeah, I've been very grateful to play in so many big games. It's been a very enjoyable year, and I've loved every moment of it, and wouldn't have done it any different.
Talk to us about your year in France, because you did take the TW Sharon with you as well, just to make sure you had it there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, made sure I took the Sharon up, and the French kids didn't really know what it was, so they were throwing it like rugby balls. But very enjoyable, and make sure I had a kick with my brother, and it was awesome.
Who's your favourite Hawthorn player?
Ooh, I always loved Rioli growing up. He was my favourite, but loved Sammy Mitch as well. So that'd be pretty cool to have
There
him
you
as a
go.
coach. Yeah.
Well, hopefully he doesn't cause you too many problems along the way.
Let's hope not.
No, enjoy, Cam. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Well done.
Thank you.
A very smart young man too, saying that he loves Sam Mitchell. Wise move, don't you think, Joey?
Been a bit of a suck there. No. Look, he does have a bit of Sam Mitchell about him, but he's going to be a beauty for the Hawks. They've done well there.
What a great story. All right, next up, it's the Premiers.
With pick 8, Geelong select Jai Clark from the Geelong Falcons and the Queenscliff Cougars.
Presenting the jumper for Geelong is Premiership midfielder Cam Guthrie.
What an exceptional selection for Geelong, the local boy from down the Ballerine way. He's been mentored by Joel Selwood. In fact, he's been called Jai Selwood, a ready-made replacement for the Cats Premiership star, and he mimics him in many ways, Shifter.
Well, I did liken him to Joel. Amazing that he's ended up at Geelong. This boy's a hard-edged beauty. That's the best way to describe his attack on the ball. He is fearless in his approach. He's a one-touch player as well, and a great distributor. And this is a boy on the right or left hand and foot, sets the play up. Again, we see him play brilliantly in his 17th year last year. Some great games for the Falcons as well last year as a bottom Asia, and then topped it right up this year. Had a brilliant year, best and fairest winner down there. Second in the Lark medal to Will Ashcroft, so had an outstanding season.
Yeah, leadership's huge from where I sit, and character's the number one thing I look for in a player. And as Shifter said, he's got it in spades. For me, it's his forward of centre play is what really hurts opposition teams. His ability to go inside 50 and to actually open up teams and really hurt them. And the way he exits either side of the stoppage, I think, makes him an incredibly dangerous player. You know, when you're leading up as a forward and you can go to either foot of the ball carrier, it certainly creates plenty of headaches for opposition defenders.
Yeah, I had the words combative, consistent, and his character. He does all the tough stuff. He does both sides of the ball. That's why he's got the Joel Selwood comparisons. Maybe a bit of Andy Brayshaw. Just does everything really well. You know, doesn't sort of stand out with anything with his game, but just super consistent, performs week in, week out. And, yeah, the Cats are just going to continue to roll on. Got themselves another beauty.
If you can have anywhere the career that Joel Selwood has enjoyed, this is way back in 2006. Joel was pick number 7 and... well, what a career he would go on to have. A celebrated great of our game. We head to our Fox Footy great, Brad Johnson, who has Jai with him.
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, Jai, you don't have to move too far down the road. Really, we don't have to move at all. From Queenscliff to GMHBA, 20-minute drive.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty lucky that I live close, so, yeah, can't wait to get down there.
You've spent a bit of time at the Cats at the start of the year. What did you learn from that experience, being a part of the, experienced group?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to spend a week there. It was such an unreal experience. You just get to see how professional they are inside the four walls and how driven they are, and that's shown winning the premiership.
Did any of the senior players sort of grab you and sort of, take you along for the ride during that week?
Yeah, everyone was really good. Mark Wixars was really good, Joel Selwood, Cam Guthrie, a lot. Could go through the whole list, but yeah, they were all really good.
And you got to represent Vic Country this year as well. What did you learn from that experience representing, the state at country level?
Yeah, I was very privileged and lucky enough to do that, and I love playing with all the boys, and it's good to see Caddy go number 1. There's no one better to do that. So yeah, it was super fun, and to take that step up to the next level was really cool.
And the Cats, what did they talk to you in the lead up to the draft? What were some of the things they were talking to you about?
Yeah, spoke a little bit. Came down and met the family the other day, so yeah, it was pretty cool, and didn't really get into too much depth, but yeah, it was pretty cool to meet them.
Well, it all starts now. Good luck, Jai.
No, cheers, thanks,
Well
Jai.
done.
Cheers, appreciate it. Cheers, thanks, mate.
And Geelong have an incredible recent record of nailing these selections on nights like this, Mick.
Yeah, they do. And I thought they worked really well through the trade period. So they changed their tact a little bit and brought in players that had gone through their AFL apprenticeship and were ready to make their mark at senior level. And then to be able to end up with pick 7 as well as, which obviously, as we see, turned into pick 8, as well as bringing in Jack Bowes and You know, it's just remarkable, isn't it? Stephen Wells has done it again, and they lose one leader and bring in a future leader. So well done to the Geelong Footy Club. I think there's 17 other teams looking for the handbrake.
Very jealous indeed. All right, we're going to have a look at the remaining players still left on the draft board. You can see there, Filippo, very highly rated.
With pick 9, the West Coast select Ruben Ginbey from East Perth and the Dunsborough Sharks Junior Football Club.
Presenting the jumper for the Eagles is coach Adam Simpson.
So the Eagles gave up pick 2 over the trade period to get 2 first-round picks with the hopes that they'd have some WA talent still on the board, and that has been the case, Shifter.
Yeah, and the MVP for WA in the National Championships, they've got the best WA player. And has this boy developed this year? He started as a half-back playing some senior footy at East Perth. Adam Jones, their talent manager, saw some potential to be a taller midfielder in Nationals. That's where they popped him, and he was a star right throughout those championships. I loved him when he tested then at the end of the year. He's elite in speed and endurance. 2.93 on a slowish track for the 20 metres, and then 6 minutes and 15 seconds for the 2K. Puts him right up there. So he's got the motor. I call it the Rolls-Royce motor to actually stay in the midfield and be a long-term player in that particular spot with those physical attributes.
He really attacks when he's in possession of the ball too. He's not going sideways or backwards. He's going forward and he's going full steam. We just came off the back of Jai Clark. When it comes to character and leadership, this young man will be captain of the marbles team, the knitting club, you name it. He's going to be captain, so he's a great pickup, and I'm sure West Coast were a little bit worried they'd lose him, but they get their man.
Freo fan growing up, added 15 kilos over the past 2 years, and, well, it's paying off here.
Yeah, there's a real theme in the top 10 about these powerful mids, but I love this about Ruben Ginbey, his combativeness. Look at that, his want to tackle, his desire to win the contest. I liken him a bit to, say, Elliot Yeo, a big, powerful mid who started his career as a half-back, but look at this, the strength to break tackles, to set up the play on the outside. He can do 2 ways. He'll defend as well as attack because he's got that defensive element to his game, but this is a big midfielder who's going to be great for the West Coast Eagles as they start their rebuild. He's also got breakaway speed, so he does have that ability on his own to get out of traffic, loves the contest, and as you said, Shifter, he's a great size for the modern-day midfielder.
All right, we're going to head to Jono now. Jono, I understand Ruben's a bit of a keen surfer. He'll be happy to be remaining in the West.
Definitely, Sarah. We're just having a quick chat about that. It's a great opportunity to stay at home.
Yeah, it's awesome. I was ready to go anywhere, but to hear my name called at West Coast, that's great. And just, yeah, I guess it makes it easy. You don't have to travel too far.
Now, I can see the 15 kilos you've put on over the last couple of years. The shoulders are starting to get a little bit broader. What type of work did you put in?
Yeah, I guess I was a bit of a skinny kind of shorter kid, and then I had 10 kilos, 10 centimetres kind of thing. So I think I just got in the gym a bit early, and I think that just really helped my footy. So
Captain of your school, I understand as well. How did that go, and what did you learn from being able to lead a school throughout the year?
Yeah, I was really honoured and privileged to captain Wesley this year. We didn't quite get the win. We finished second 2 years in a row, but I think that was really good for me and just learn a few more communication skills and be able to help boys through the year. So I was really stoked with that.
Now, you were a Freo fan. I do say were now because how are the folks going to go getting rid of all the purple?
Yeah, I don't know how they go, but yeah, I guess we have to see when we get home, see if they throw out the purple gear and get the blue and gold.
I'm sure they will, and congratulations, Ruben. All the very best.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Awesome story there, Ruben Ginbey remaining in the West and going to the West Coast Eagles. The Dockers fan no more. As we have a look now at St Kilda, who have picked number 10, and you can see there the remaining players and our Fox Lab rank. We've got Filippo still on the board. He was one that was speculated potentially going to the Bombers at pick 4, so has drifted down.
With pick 10, St Kilda select Matthias Filippo from Woodville West Torrens and the Plimpton High Old Scholars Camden Football Club.
Presenting the jump for St Kilda is club captain Jack Steele.
So Jack Still a superstar for the Saints, gives the jumper over to someone that the St Kilda faithful hope can become a superstar. Very highly rated, and at pick number 10, maybe seen as a bit of a steal.
Potentially. I mean, for me, he could almost have the most upside of any of the top 10 that have been drafted so far. He was 3 days off being eligible to play in the under-18 competition next year, shifter, so he's still quite young, still quite raw, but some of his attributes are enormous, aren't they? I mean, that 190 centimetres, can mark the ball overhead, can kick long goals. Look, I think Ross Lyon has got plenty to work with this young man.
I love his bloodlines too. His dad, Woodville West Torrens star, but played at the Western Bulldogs, about 30-odd games. But his granddad, Peter, was a superstar. He's a Hall of Famer over there. So he's got foot in his blood. I think granddad was around last night teaching him how to sign his autograph. He'll have to sign a few out with the Saints at Moorabbin, I'd think. Yeah, wonderful prospect. Best on the ground in the first of the National Championship games this year against the Allies. And I did, like you, Lee, had a look at his birth date to see him as a kid that's still eligible for next year, not this year. Still 17 years of age. So I reckon he's going to make a real player, this boy.
Yeah, I think he's a really classy, clean, creative type of player. His ability to make things happen, and he smarts in tight by hand. You watch him here just come out of the centre stoppage. That's where he really, really hurts you when he's on the run. He's got a beautiful penetrating left foot kick, but he's super intelligent in the clinches and very, very strong over the footy. So I liken him a little bit at a similar age to a Scott Pendlebury type.
Yeah, and he's another one, though, that's probably going to start his career as a half forward. I mean, look at his reach and his height there. There has been the comparisons to Marcus Bontempelli because of his ability to mark the ball overhead, kick long goals, and he's got this sort of freakish ability to get on his left boot, as you mentioned, Mick, in tight. He's just got those little, creative little things you can't really teach. He's got some athleticism. He's going to fill out. He's a big boy, so I almost think like the Fife Cripps type. Eventually, he can fill out to be someone that big, so plenty to work with.
Listening to a lot of his interviews, very confident young man as well. How will Ross Lyon handle that?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he goes with Ross Lyon, but he'll love it. He'll thrive under the coaching of Ross Lyon.
All right, let's head to Jono.
Well, let's find out. Joey, how do you think you're going to go under Ross Lyon?
Oh, I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot. I'm so excited. Growing up, we always used to say, Ross Lyon's got the Dockers in shape. So it's pretty funny to now be, being coached by him. But, yeah, I'm so excited. Can't wait to learn a lot from him.
Yourself this year had an outstanding season. A lot of comparing you sort of the Bont, I suppose, in some of your movement wouldn't be bad to sort of emulate the type of career that Marcus Bontempelli's pushing out there.
Oh, definitely. I'd be grateful to have half, even a quarter of a career that Bont's had. But, yeah, definitely. You try and take, positives from every player in the league, all the good players. So, yeah.
I played a couple of games of footy with your dad. He had an outstanding career in SA as well. They must be extremely proud.
Oh, 100%. I know Dad's, was pretty emotional yesterday, which was, new for me. I've never seen him really get emotional. So, yeah, it means a lot for the family, not just Dad, Mum and all my friends as well. So, yeah, I'm really excited.
Well, Mateus, I'm sure all Saints fans are excited as well. All the very best.
Thanks, Jono.
And there is Ross Lyon. Smile on your face there, Joey. You love him.
Oh, no, look, I just think look, there's good things happening down at the club.
Yep.
They needed to nail this draft. It's an important draft for the Saints to bring in some more talent, and I think they've done really well so far.
Certainly a talented player there in Filippo. All right, it is the Carlton Football Club next. They've got pick number 11. Of course, heartbreakingly finished 9th, just missing out on the finals this year, Mick. And Michael Voss has spoken during the week about what he looks for in a player. Obviously, their list is quite well-rounded, competitiveness and resilience.
With pick 11, Carlton have selected Oliver Hollands from the Murray Bushrangers and the Wodonga Bulldogs.
Presenting the jumper for Carlton is midfield star Sam Walsh.
So Sam Walsh, one of the game's best runners, presenting the jumper to the man regarded the best runner in the draft shifter. This is someone that can cover a lot of ground, very consistent performer, and potentially could play on a wing at AFL level.
Yeah, we measure him as elite in all those categories with our testing, whether it's the yo-yo test or whether it's the 2K. He's the star. He's the best 1 or 2 Australia-wide. He runs his opponents off their feet, but I love his attack on the ball. His aggression at the ball is sensational. I could see him playing initially on the wing out wide and being that two-way runner that you need, but later on he could play. As he develops physically, he could play on the inside. He's also from a great footballing family. Elijah, of course, is up there at the Gold Coast. His dad was drafted way back. He's drafted up to Sydney, played some games at Richmond before becoming a star in the Sandful. So he's got lots of footy around him and he's had a wonderful year.
He rarely gives the footy away too, Shifter. I like it when he's in control of the ball. He makes things happen with it. His game against WA we just saw there during the Under-18 Championships, to put this into perspective, 34 disposals in flat 20-minute quarters. So we're not talking time on here. That is just an exceptional number of possessions and speaks volumes for his ability to get up and down the ground, contest to contest. And, geez, they've got themselves a good one. Vossi's got exactly what he asked for.
All right, let's head now to Marvel Stadium.
Thanks, Sarah. We're just talking about the Blues because you barracked for them growing up. Oliver, who did you sort of, watch closely?
Yeah, Jono, it's pretty special to have your name read out by a club that you've grown up for. So,
certainly is.
I guess over the last few years, Walshy's been someone I've watched really closely, and yeah, to have your jersey presented by him is it's pretty phenomenal. So yeah.
You've got great sort of speed, endurance. Your endurance in particular is excellent. He's going to be a pretty good one to jump on the back of early days to complete your running sessions with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think particularly the first few weeks, I think I'll try and stick by him as close as I can, and he's going to be a real good role model.
As has been mentioned, your brother's on the Gold Coast list. He went at pick 7. He's starting to develop into a really nice player in the competition. Did he have a word to you in the lead up to the draft?
Yeah, of course. I think a lot of it's sort of been about enjoy the moment and really, stay in the moment, make the most of this opportunity because you only get to live it once. So, he's been amazing for me and just a resource to have. He's been awesome.
Have you got him covered on the golf course?
I think he's got me covered at this stage. I think a few more practice sessions and I might have him.
I like it at this stage. I mean, you're on the charge.
Yeah,
well done, Oliver.
Absolutely.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Well done.
Well done, Oliver. Good work there, Jono. And Jono's old club, the Western Bulldogs, have bid on Jasper Fletcher. So we thought this might happen, that there would be an early bid there for the father-son prospect. What do you make of this one, Ming?
It's warranted. This kid's an absolute class act. So well done to the Bulldogs for putting the bid in on this player. If we look on the TV there, we see that they gained picks 72 and 86, so it sets them back, Joey, a fair way in the draft. And they give up 41, 47 and 49. But to bring, as we spoke about, Will Ashcroft and potentially Jasper Fletcher into your football club, into what's already probably the AFL's elite midfield, would be a sensational result.
Yeah, we expected this to happen. The Brisbane Lions are going to get 2 players inside the top 12 in this year's draft. I mean, they are 2 exceptional young players that I think could step in almost immediately in this Brisbane Lions side that's already stacked with talent. We know how good they are, so it's great for Chris Fagan. He's got plenty to work with.
They had a couple of ways in which they could list him too. He's a member of the Lions Academy, with Adrian having lived up there for more than 5 years, and so he's nominated under that, and of course his father's son to them as well. Although Fletch played at a few clubs, I think Geelong, St Kilda, Brisbane, and then across to Freo, where he's a best and fairest winner. He was a star in his 248 games and been a wonderful development coach at many of the AFL clubs, and there's no doubt he's had a major influence on his son.
The Brisbane Lions have matched Western Bulldogs' bid, and with pick 12 select Jasper Fletcher from the Brisbane Lions Academy and the Sherwood Football Club.
Presenting the jump for Brisbane is senior coach Chris Fagan.
So a special moment there for Jasper Fletcher, and if you have a look at what Brisbane have done in the off-season tonight, Fletcher and Ashcroft Also, add that to Connor McKenna, Dunkley and Gunston. This is a top-flight side that is not going anywhere, Joey.
No, I think Christmas has come early for Chris Fagan. He'd be very happy with what's happened in the last few months. It's the trade period and now the draft. I mean, as I said, this kid reminds me a bit of... They've already got one in Hugh McCluggage. He's just such a smooth mover. He's got a step. He's a beautiful kick. He can play inside and outside. He can get from the inside to the outside, and he's got that composure as well. So, I mean, he's another one that can probably slot in on a wing. So Mitch Robinson's gone. There's a few others that they've tried in that wing role, but maybe it's a real opportunity for Jasper Fletcher to cement himself early in the season.
And he did that early this year with his form playing for the Brisbane Lions Academy. We saw some vision of that. He won the Hunter Harrison medal for the best player of all the academy boys around Australia in that early part of the year to really put a stamp on his 18th year.
He's a really smart player too. His father, Adrian, I was fortunate enough to play on him in the back end of his career at VFL level, and still to this day he was the most that I learnt out of an opposition player in my time, and no doubt he'll have passed that on to Jasper. He reminds me, Joey, not too dissimilar to Hugh McCluggage, of Adam Chera. As you say, in the way he moves and his smoothness, ability to execute by foot or by hand. And he often comes out the front of a stoppage. It's remarkable when some players naturally drift back or goes, this kid's coming out the front.
He's a leg driver, which is what we want to see, but he's also, his dad was one of the best handballers that we'd seen in the game. He's got shades of his dad. Look at that, 30-metre sweeping handball. So, look, you're right, this kid does tick a lot of boxes, but I do love the leg drive. He gets from the inside to the outside, then has the composure and the smarts by foot. He's going to be one to watch.
Jono, I think Joey is stealing David King's favourite word. Leg driver is how he is used to explain just how Jasper goes about it.
Well, that's it. When you see him breaking 50 and kicking them from 45, it's great to watch. And Jasper, I'm sure you'll learn that leg drive that Joey's talking about throughout the many years you spent in the Lions Academy.
Yeah, so I spent 6 years since I was 12, so it's been a long stint, and it's crazy it's come to an end now.
I'm sure Mum and Dad are really proud at this moment.
Oh yeah, they're stoked. I think Mum shed a few tears when she saw that sign come up, and Dad's never been too emotional about it, so to see him finally show a bit of emotion was pretty cool.
How are you feeling? The nerves stopped now?
Oh, not really. I'm still shaking. I'm struggling to hold the mic, to be honest. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Now, this year you got to play a little bit of senior footy. Your dad's a great coach in his own right. How'd you go playing under your dad for those 3 or 4 games?
Yeah, it was tough. He always gave me a few sprays, even though it wasn't my fault, to be honest. But he's good and he was hard on me, and that's made me a better player. So. And
you're Allies captain as well, which is it's a great honour to be able to represent your state. How'd you go in that role?
Yeah, no, it was a good honour. I'm very grateful for it, and it's pretty tough bringing 5 states, I think, together. So, was stoked to get the win in the last game and finish on a high, I guess.
Well, Jasper, congratulations. The fun only begins right now. Good luck.
Appreciate it. Thanks, John.
Well done.
The fun begins indeed, and Chris Fagan looks pretty happy with what the Brisbane Lions have been able to do tonight. We've got the Western Bulldogs, some serious faces inside their room at the moment because their pick is in. We'll head there shortly for number 13.
With pick 13, the Western Bulldogs select Jed Buslinger from East Perth and the Kabunya Bombers.
Presenting the jumper for the Western Bulldogs is defender Bailey Dale.
And defence is where we expect to see Jed. He was the #1 key defender in the draft pool, a smart player, an interceptor that reads the play well.
Yeah, the Western Bulldogs have certainly addressed a need here. I mean, you think about, Alex Keith got dropped throughout the year. They've brought back Liam Jones just as a bit of a gap stop. But really, this is the future. They're an intercept defender that loves to go for his marks. I mean, imagine him and maybe Sam Darcy forming a 1-2 punch at centre-half back and full-back for the Dogs for the next 15 years. Of course, Zane Cordy's gone as well, so I like what the Bulldogs have done here. Shifter, he's the best key defender in the draft.
Yeah, we like him a bit to a Darcy more. He's got some dash too. He was picked All-Australian off the back of 2 games in the Nationals. There's 4 games in total. That's how dominant he was in those 2. He then had the shoulder injury and they put him in for surgery. He looks a bit light at the minute. He'll develop physically into a big, powerful boy. He's 196 centimetres. He's the right size. He took 17 marks in a representative game last year, his 17th year. He just reads it brilliantly and he's just so much one touch. He doesn't fumble, doesn't panic. He's got all the attributes to be a star down back.
A highly rated cricketer as a junior, but after he won that Oz Kicker of the Year award, it set him up to become an AFL player. And well, he's already been there on grand final day. This was back in 2012 when he got to present Adam Goodes with his premiership medallion. Look how gorgeous he is. What a moment. And who knows, one day he may well be receiving a premiership medallion. That is pretty special stuff. Jono, you've got to ask him about that special moment.
Well, certainly smiling, that's for sure. He joined a pretty good club in the Western Bulldogs, and congratulations, Jed. It's a great honour. And what about that? You've gone from NAB Oz Kicker of the Year, you're presenting medals, to now the big time.
Yeah, it's unreal how it's turned out. 10 years ago, just as an Oz Kicker on grand final day, and now finally living out my childhood dream to be an AFL player is, yeah, it's unreal.
Now, the big question earlier on was, where's the blonde hair gone?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. Just aged a little bit, but yeah.
Now, joining the Western Bulldogs is a great time to join the footy club in terms of where they sit on the ladder. The recruits they've got. You're an intercept defender. Is that where you see your role?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's my best position. I've played a bit of forward line as well, but I think down back's the best position. But there's so many tools at the Bulldogs that I'm just looking forward to learning off all of them and see where it goes.
Yeah, you're right. You'll jump in with Aaron Norton and Liam Jones and even Sam Darcy.
Yeah, all like young players in Liam Jones. So all of them have similar traits that I would like to progress with. So yeah, unreal.
Now, I hear the number 5 is up for grabs. I know Rowan Smith quite well, so I'll put in a good word for you.
Thanks very
much.
Good luck.
Two happy Western Bulldogs there. What great stuff it is. And Luke Beveridge, very happy to have secured the best key defender in the 2022 draft pool. We head now to the West Coast Eagles, pick number 14.
With pick 14, West Coast select Elijah Hewitt from Swan Districts and the Caversham Suns Junior Football Club.
Incredible scenes there for Elijah Hewitt and his family, perhaps because they're all mad West Coast Eagles supporters. He is a powerful midfielder, a confident, explosive player, models his game on Dusty Martin, absolutely loves him, had his poster on the wall growing up. So what a player to aspire to be like.
And it's this game here where he really showed against Vic Metro. It was the first clip there. 29 disposals, 2 goals. He's in the best couple on the ground in that first of the National Championship games for WA. They were beaten in that match. He set the standard then. He's another explosive midfielder. He tested brilliantly. He's got that speed, that yard. He's got the agility as well. I like him to do a bit of a Jake Stringer when he does go forward. You know, you just can't put a hand on him. Sometimes he explodes away. So they'd be rapt to end up with 2 well-credentialed West Australians. Their picks, the West Coast Eagles, with those 2 boys.
Yeah, he's a natural finisher shifter. His balance is absolutely first class, and I got a really close look at him when the West Coast Eagles waffle team played against Swan Districts out of Bassendean. You want to talk swagger, he does not lack any confidence at all. So he took it up to the best of these guys and guys that had AFL experience. Didn't take a backward step, it didn't bother him. His agility's elite, and as Shifter said, he does get forward and hit the scoreboard. So, you know, he was a player that was touted as a top 5 potential draft pick, top 10 even. He hasn't gone too far outside of that in what's a really even draft. So the West Coast have bought into absolute elite WA talents.
All right, Elijah joins us now. Congratulations. You must be incredibly thrilled. We saw the great scenes there with your family to be staying at home and also playing for the West Coast Eagles. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm just super excited. I'm so glad I can, be around my family for this night, and it's been a really long process, and I'm so excited to start there with Ruben, and be a part of an amazing club with amazing history, and I'm real fortunate my family's gone for Eagles, so I'm so glad.
Congratulations, Elijah. Did you have an idea the West Coast Eagles were keen at pick 14? How much did you know?
Oh, mate, honestly, I didn't have much clue. It was really touch and go with a lot of these picks, so just to finally get my name read out is a huge relief, and I'm so excited.
Incredible scenes. The family behind you. Who have you got there?
So I've got my oldest brother right there. I've got my mum in the middle, my younger brother, my 2 best mates, and I've got my dad right there.
And you've been studying as well, doing a commerce degree, so you're a busy guy and AFL footballer. How are you going to juggle it all?
yeah, no, I think that's one of the things you got to get sorted early on is that balance. So yeah, I'm just really excited to be able to incorporate that into my life, and hopefully that it will pay dividends in the future.
And you've been working at the Claremont Golf Club, I hear, while you've been studying in the draft year. Are you still going to... You've quit there, have you? Now you're an AFL superstar?
Yes, I have quit. I quit about 2 weeks ago, and my boss is tuning in, so I'm sure he'd be very stoked that you're giving him a shout-out.
Maybe a couple of free rounds of golf. Congratulations, Elijah. We cannot wait to see you in West Coast Eagles colours and go and enjoy this special night with your family.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Well done. How good is it to see the raw emotion from not only the players but their biggest supporters, the family that are with them every step of the way?
Absolutely, and it is a big deal for these West Australian kids to transition from there to the East Coast. It's a long, long way, and you can just see the elation on Elijah's face and his family's face that he actually is one that does have the ability to remain at home, not like Reuben Jimby, who is originally from Dunsborough, a bit far to travel from there up to Lathlane, but Elijah, I'm sure, will be happy just to trek just down the road.
OK, we've got the Melbourne Football Club entering the draft at pick number 15.
With pick 15, Melbourne select Matthew Jefferson from the Oakley Chargers and the Ashburton Redbacks.
Matthew had been linked really strongly with the Demons coming into this draft as one of the leading draft key forwards in the draft behind Cadman, and that marking ability is a real weapon and something that Melbourne see as a need.
Yeah, Sarah's no doubt. Sometimes you go to a match and you see someone have that day that decides he'll be drafted for certain. Well, he kicked 7 in the game, 5 1/4. That's playing for Vic Metro against WA, and all his tricks are on show that day. He's high mark, he's freakish in the air. He really got on song with his kicking as well. We'd seen flashes last year in his 17th year of his marking ability. It looked fairly special. He put it together, but it wasn't just the flash of the pen. He kicked 27 goals in just the 10 matches at NAB League or representative level this year. So it's nearly 3 a game. He's got some stuff at ground level as well as that elite marking ability.
Yeah, again, they've addressed a need here at Melbourne. They took Van Ruin, picked 19, I think, last year. Now they've got Jefferson. So we talk about the Western Bulldogs maybe having a back end for the future with Buslinger and Darcy. Melbourne can now build for the next 15 years. Once Ben Brown and a few of them get a little bit older, they've got Jefferson and Van Ruin that they can build around. And we take a look at some of his lab highlights. Shifty, you spoke about his marking ability. He can do it in the air. He's got that ability to take a contested mark. He reads the flight of the ball exceptionally well. He can take a contested mark. He can also get some separation and split as a good forward. He always finds ways to kick goals. He can hit the scoreboard. He can potentially play as a defender. He did do that in his bottom age year, so he does have that up his sleeve as well. But as you said, he's also got the ability to do things at ground level. He's not just a marking player. He's got a little bit of athleticism. Yes, he needs to fill out, but he's someone that will take a little bit of time to develop. But Melbourne have addressed their key forward needs for the future.
An important move for the Melbourne Football Club, and Matthew joins us now. Matthew, well done. You are an AFL player. You are a Melbourne player. How does that sound?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's been a bit of a nervous wait, but yeah, good to get to a club.
Looks like you've got lots of people there at home with you. Who's joined you for this special night?
Got a lot of people, a lot of family, a lot of the boys. So yeah, just good to everyone.
Who do you model your game on, Matthew? Who have you sort of tried to watch at AFL level and sort of aspire to become when you get some games for the Ds?
Yeah, I love watching Aaron Norton, Charlie Kerner, those kind of athletic key forwards who, they can hit the scoreboard, but their pressure and what they do up the ground as well is really good.
Had you had many conversations with the Melbourne Football Club? Did you have an inkling that they were keen on you tonight?
Yeah, I talked to them a bit, but, you never know what can happen on draft day. So, yeah, just really excited to, get into the work in the pre-season.
You've been described as a really raw talent and that there's plenty of upside. What are you looking forward to about getting into an AFL program? Obviously, you need to build up the strength and endurance that you need to play AFL football. What excites you the most?
Yeah, I reckon that's a really cool thing, getting to work with, some of the best strength and conditioning coaches, in the world. So, yeah, that really excites me as well as, getting to learn under some, really experienced players. So, yeah.
Matthew, thank you for joining us. Go and enjoy this one with the family and friends. This is a night you will never forget. Awesome stuff there. It is so exciting, and moving to the Melbourne Football Club, he will take time to develop and work his way in. But as you said, a needs-based pick. It's a really good one.
Yeah, they do. And I mean, they've got some players that he doesn't need to play straight away. Tom McDonald missed a lot of footy last year. I believe Max Gawn's probably going to spend more time forward with Brodie Grundy coming to the side. Ben Brown's still there, Bailey Fritsch. So he can just ease into the program, a bit like what they've done with young Van Rooyen. Can play some VFL football, develop physically, develop his craft, and then when they're ready, in a couple of years' time, well, Melbourne might continue on to stay near the top of the ladder.
Yeah. So we mentioned he's lightly built. You can see that. He's a bit like a Harrison Jones there at Essendon, or maybe a Max Ben King, that type of boy. He'll need to add the 8 or 10 kilos. That'll come over the couple of years, but those fingers are sticky. He's got the vice-like grip. I love that out of the forwards. They're not going to fumble too much when they're that reliable up there.
Yeah, that lateral movement and just ability at ground level, the evasiveness for his size. Ben Brown was a name mentioned earlier, and that's what I had written down on paper. I think he'll be an exceptional mentor for that young man, and he's a pick for the future, isn't he? They've got plenty of height at the moment that's playing senior footy. He can bide his time, learn from the best, and what better environment to be in than the Melbourne Footy Club at the moment.
So a glance inside the Sydney Swans headquarters there. And Joey, so far it's kind of gone to script. It has gone according to the predictions of most of the experts in the Phantom Drafts.
It has really. There hasn't been too many twists and turns or too many surprises, but this is where it does start to get interesting. There has been a bit of talk. Sydney have been prepared to maybe trade out of one of these picks early and bank something for next year. So Kinnear Beatson there, maybe just waiting for a phone call from maybe some clubs that see someone on the board, maybe an Ed Allen that some people predicted could potentially have been a top 10 talent. A club might think there's an opportunity there to maybe get into this round and maybe snaffle a play, or some key defenders. So Bustling has been really the only key defender gone so far. You can see Weddle and Hayes on the board. Huswaite can play as a defender as well. So maybe a club that are looking for a needs might be trying to do a deal with the Sydney Swans.
So they got this pick from the Jordan Dawson trade in the off-season. You can see that their time has expired, but the pick is in now. So we will wait for the word from HQ and GWS Giants. Mick with the bid pending here.
Yeah, absolutely. He's exceptional, this young kid. Reading it off hands at the stoppage, he's got an incredible work ethic. So that bid comes on Harry Rouston. He's one of the premier midfielders in this draft. Obviously, they, as you see there, they lose that pick 17, so it's come just before the Giants are due to get back in. But the Swans would take him because he's a homegrown talent up there from the GWS Academy. I just love his spread. He spreads as hard as any midfielder in the competition, works back defensively, and he's very, very good overhead for his size.
Well, they've whipped one into their rival up there in New South Wales, haven't they, by bidding on Harry Rouston. He won their Academy Player of the Year for the Giants. I think they'll match the bid. He's a contested ball winner. He pushes forward and kicks important goals. He starred for the Allies in the National Championship, won the MVP, All-Australian honours. He slipped down. He's actually played for Calder this year as well in the NAB League because he's at Assumption College, their best player up there. So from Griffith, he's moved down to Assumption, had a wonderful year. He's got all of the attributes. He's a Tim Taranto type, you know, very, very similar in makeup and sort of positions he can play. I think this young fella's had a wonderful year and can really play AFL.
Well, that's right. It works out pretty well for the Giants because he does tick a lot of boxes, as you said, that inside ball, that competitor, and they've lost Taranto and Hopper in this year's trade period. So they do have Tom Green and they still do have some depth in the midfield, but he's just another youngster that they can add in that can be that inside contested player if they do match the bid.
There's no doubt that competitiveness is a key characteristic the recruiters and the coaches are looking forward when it comes to these players, Mick.
Yeah, certainly. You don't have to be Joel Selwood. We don't all have to come off the ground with a bandage around our head each week. But when it's your time to go, your teammates and coaches have got to be able to rely on you. And that's the really important thing here. I've always said this, character's number one for mine, competitiveness is number two. And you can't doubt that with Harry Rouston.
What's really interesting about this is that Sydney have made the bid before the GWS Giants' next pick at 17. I think the Giants were expecting this bid to maybe come a little bit later. So they've got some thinking to do right now because they are going to lose pick 17 if they do take him. I know they still have some other picks coming up, but they were maybe expecting him to get through to somewhere in the 20s and might not have had to give away one of their first-round picks.
Mick, would you do it?
I 100% would. And look, the Swans know if GWS don't match this, they've got an absolute star. So for the public out there watching, clubs don't do this just to force clubs' hand, expecting the Giants to match the bid anymore. They'll bid on a player that they genuinely want. So make no mistake, the Giants have got a lot to think about here, because the last thing you want is you go into a battle of the bridge in 2 or 3 years' time and this kid takes home the medal, so which he's more than capable of doing.
Comparisons to Trent Cotchin as well, which says a lot when you're compared to a premiership-winning superstar Richmond captain.
A lot of the comparisons we're rolling with tonight are with some of the superstars of the competition. So, you know, we do hope that they turn out like them, but it just gives the viewers watching at home a bit of an idea of what type of player these guys are. So it's not a bad comparison.
So we see Adrian Caruso there on the phone from the Giants. Now, part of that decision could be, OK, if we do match this bid, can we start working on a trade with another club to come back in at a decent point? Maybe there's another player on the board that they're hoping to get. As you said, Joey, they certainly wouldn't have expected Harry Ralston to be bid on this early in the draft, when all the projections were maybe, you know, early in the second round, midway through the second round.
GWS have matched the Swans bid and with pick 16 select Harry Ralston from the Griffith Swans Football Club.
Of the draft, to be honest, you know, he wasn't expected to really go inside the top 20. There had been some talk late. I think a few people had sort of mentioned that maybe he would sneak up into this first round, but he's certainly been the bolter so far. As we said, there haven't been too many twists and turns in this early stages of the first round, but there's our first one. But as you were saying, Mick, a really reliable inside mid, just consistent. You can see his numbers there. They're bordering on elite, or they are elite. So as good as any of the mids in the competition, maybe just sneaking under the radar a little bit, but he'll certainly bide his time and develop nicely at the Giants.
How soon can he play senior football?
He's got the body to play straight away, to be quite honest. He's strongly built, super competitive. I also love the fact he kicks important goals. He had a couple of shots taking marks around the 50-metre mark. And I thought, this will test him. Straight through each time, under pressure, stood up as one of the best players in those Allies games, playing for the Allies at that point of the year. So I thought he looked an AFL player for mine, and not surprised that someone's come to him to bid inside 20.
So what does Sydney do now? They sit and they go back to their list and work out who's next up.
Yeah, that's exactly right. These clubs go into the draft with a list in order of players, so they're very well prepared. I guess they've bought themselves another 5 minutes too, haven't they? So if there's another club out there that might see a player still on the board they think they can get up to, I'm sure Kinnear Beatson's phone's on. Otherwise, the Swans will be certainly in a very, very strong position to add to what's an already incredible list.
There's been talk maybe they need a key defender. That's maybe an area they can address going forward. There are a couple of key defenders that are on the board around this pick, Lewis Hayes and Josh Weddle. So maybe they're looking at one of these defenders. You can see there the position output. That's basically the player ratings, the average player ratings in those positions last season. So you can see the key defender area was maybe an area to address. They've got the McCartan boys, but just maybe adding some young depth to that area.
We can see John Longmire sitting in the corner there. How much input does the senior coach have into these decisions?
A lot. They certainly do. They're an integral part of what clubs are doing and the really good football departments which the Swans have been for a sustained period of time now. You know, when you've got someone in the room with the experience of John Longmire, why wouldn't you use them? So clubs do. The coaches come in at the end of the season. They pour through a lot of vision with a recruiting team, give their opinion. But obviously it's left to that group that have watched these guys closely. I just wonder whether the Swans have got an interest in someone like Ed Allen as well. I think they're a young, developing team that reached the grand final probably a little bit earlier than most of the pundits expected. I just think whether there's an opportunity there for someone like Ed Allen to sit and wait in the wings and bide his time in behind some of the guys like Luke Parker and Callum Mills and, you know, Errol Goulden and these really talented midfielders.
When you're playing and on a playing list, Joey, how much interest do you have in what happens tonight? How much of a close look do the senior players in particular have across this?
Oh, every player is different. There'll be certainly some players from clubs watching really keenly and have a real interest. I know Buddy Franklin is one of those that we've spoken about in previous years, loves watching the younger players and has sometimes had input to the recruiting. He'll walk past the list management team and make a suggestion. So there are some players that do take an interest, and I'm tipping there's plenty that won't be watching it all right now. They couldn't care less. They'll just rock up to pre-season and meet the new draftees.
Hope that they've picked some good ones.
Shake their hands, and that's the way it rolls. And it's, that's just the way it is. But the Sydney Swans, I mean, they're very fortunate. I think they're in a great position with their list. I mean, we saw what they were able to do this season. They've got a lot of young talent coming through, some young key forwards, plenty of young midfielders and sort of periphery type players. So they can really take their time and either go best player available, which is what they're weighing up, or whether it's a needs-based is probably what you start to do when you get to this pick range.
And they're using all their time now. Shifter, what are they weighing up, do you think?
Well, if they're going to go tall defender, you've mentioned a couple of them there. There's another one, Tom McCallum over in Tassie. I give him a chance as being one of the tall defenders taken over the draft period. Now, whether he's this early or not, he with Josh Weddle, you've got young Hayes as well, Lewis Hayes. Those three boys stand out if they're looking for that type of player. Or are they just going to go for the best available player?
I just wonder whether the way it's looking there, whether they're waiting for a trade offer, whether they've made a trade suggestion and they might be just waiting for a phone call back from one of the other clubs, because they don't look like they're doing too much active work right now. So potentially they've made a trade suggestion and they're waiting to hear back from the club to see whether they can trade out of this pick and maybe try and either push back into this draft or acquire some talent for next year, because we know next year's draft, Mick, is pretty talented. There's a lot there to work with next year, so some clubs might tactically want to bank extra picks for next year.
And this is where this draft evens out too. We've seen a lot of talk around the players that have previously been selected, but now it starts to even out. So you're right, Joey, there is a thought to what next year may look like.
Yeah.
OK, we have a bid pending here with the Adelaide Crows. Shifter, what do you know about Max?
Well, Max Michaelani is the Adelaide Crows' father-son selection. His dad was a star at Norwood, and that's under that rule that if you play over 200 games in the SANFL in the time period, you're eligible. So great for Adelaide that they've got the rights to him under the father-son rule. He's another All-Australian. Love his performance. I think Tom Doody down back does everything right. He's a wonderful defensive medium defender. Like, he will spoil well, he'll run off well, he's reliable and will play the role for his side very clearly, as he did in national championships this year for SA. Even pushed up and played some senior footy late in the year, including in the finals at senior level.
Lots of run and dash, very natural athlete. Mick, how important is that?
I think it's really important, Sarah, but look, I still lean towards the footballers. First of all, you've got to be able to find the ball. It's really important, we can't lose sight of that. However, the game, we know, demands athletic traits now. If you can't cover the ground, you lack leg speed, you need to be absolutely elite in another area. So it does form a really important part of these decisions, but let's get the footballers first, because that's what's important.
He certainly looks like a natural footballer. He moves really nicely, intercept defender, as we said. This wasn't as big a surprise. There was some talk that maybe the Swans might have had a bid for Michaelani in this pick, so they've also done that as well. So interesting here at the moment. Again, something for the Adelaide Crows to have to weigh up. I think they would have liked for him to have been bid on maybe somewhere in the 20s as well, because it's going to cost them some points and some draft picks, which they would have liked to have used to maybe get some talent in at the back end of this draft.
They're going to bring in another quality junior if they match the bid.
Adelaide have matched Sydney's bid, and with pick 17 selects Max Michaelani from Norwood.
All right, talk us through these strengths, please, Joey. It's a great pick.
Yeah, it is. It's a good one for Adelaide. As I said, they would have loved to have got him maybe in the 20s, a little bit later. you know, potentially. But he's a good little player, as we said, good heart, skilled player. He moves really nicely. He's that natural sort of aerialist across half-back, can play a bit higher up the ground. But you can see there, he's just a smooth mover. So I really like the way that he goes about it. He might take a little bit of time. He might not necessarily be a walk-up start to play straight away, although the Adelaide Crows are giving plenty of opportunities to these youngsters. Shifter, but certainly one that's has got some upside.
So you love that size too at 190, 6'2" and a bit, and he'll pick up the third tall forward. He plays taller than that. He's a lovely spring. As I mentioned earlier, I love his defensive work too, and a very disciplined player that will certainly no frills player as well. It'll be a very good servant of their footy club.
He's another one that comes off at the right time too. We mentioned Jed Buslinger earlier. He plays a similar type of game, Max Michelini. His lateral vision, to me, is what stood out over the course of the year. It's poetry in motion to watch him. When he scans and when he decides to go laterally and open the game up, he does it exceptionally well. I'd go as far to say he's one of the best in this year's draft at doing that particular skill within a game.
So it's back to the Sydney Swans once again. So they've shifted down to pick number 18 and, well, Kenny Beatson has been on that phone a fair bit. So we've got a bit going on with the Sydney Swans and some good poker faces in there as well. It's hard to know what they're doing.
There is. You just wonder whether there was maybe a little bit of payback for the Jordan Dawson trade last year. There was a bit of some tactics going on, whether Sydney have just thrown in the bid a little bit early to bid on Michelini, but Adelaide have matched that. They've got the right player. Now Sydney again have a bit more time just to assess their options. As we said, we've spoken about what they may be looking for, whether it is that defender type player. Otherwise, they're pretty well stacked in a lot of other categories. The Sydney Swans, maybe a ruckman, potentially. Could they stretch? There's Harry Barnett. Is probably the highest rated ruck in the draft. We know that Tom Hickey's done a great job. You know, they've brought Laddams into the squad in recent times. So there may be a couple of needs they might be looking to fill. Or, as we said, with the first round, you just take the best available. Or they could still be looking at the option of trading out, which we have discussed.
They have discussed that they will use 3 picks across the draft. So they were open to putting some on the table, Mick.
It's amazing the impact a club can have, isn't it, in today's modern way of trading and bidding on players. They haven't made a selection yet they've significantly changed the outcome of the first round of the draft. They've affected ongoing picks for obviously the GWS Giants and the Adelaide Crows. But the beauty of the Swans, they're not in a hurry. They've got a very, very young side. They're set up well for the next 3 to 5 years. So they're making some very, very calculated moves and ensuring that clubs pay what they should for the quality of player in Max Michelini and Harry Rouston.
OK, so we can see Hawthorn on screen there. We believe there may be some pick swapping going on between the Hawks and the Swans.
Yeah, there has been talk. The Hawks do want to get another pick inside this first round. We know where they are at with their development. They are certainly in a rebuild. So, as you just mentioned, Mick, Sydney Swans are prepared to maybe trade out because they do have a bit more time than some other clubs. So this will be interesting to see what the trade offer actually is.
Yeah, Hawthorn have actually got that choice. It was listed at 24 at the start. It's pushed out to 28, so they might want to push up to get in to make a call tonight. They probably see someone on the board they really fancy and are trying to push up to get an.
That's right. So they have swapped. So they've offered their they've moved up to pick 18 for the Sydney Swans. Will slide back to 27. But on top of that, Sydney get an extra second and third round pick in next year's draft. So they strengthen next year's hand and basically slide back 9 spots in this draft. So the Swans still might have an eye on a player that they still might think they can get at 27, or they are happy just to slide back and take best available, knowing they've banked some extra picks next year.
And that's, as we touched on before, that speaks to the evenness of the draft. So for Swans supporters, the club's obviously happy to move back to 27 and feel like they can still get a player of quality that is equal to that at pick 18. And that's no disrespect. That's actually full credit to the players that are still on the board.
And what it might mean is the Hawks have identified someone that is still on the board that they really want and they think won't be there at pick 27. So whether it's another midfielder, Ed Allen is that big mid that maybe Hawthorn lack because we know that Ward and Dylan Moore's gone through there. They don't have the biggest midfield. So whether Ed Allen is the one they are considering, of course his father did play for the Hawks.
91 premiership player.
So that could be the option, or it could be even a Braden George, someone that they might want a bit of X factor in the front half after losing Jack Gunston. It might be someone like that they think might not get to 27.
It's not
they
Lenny Hayes there, is it? Just to clarify.
It's not Lenny Hayes, no. Although he still could play.
With pick 18, Hawthorn have selected Josh Weddle from the Oakley Chargers.
There from Josh Weddle and his family. Shifter, what can you tell us about Josh?
Well, he's had a wonderful year, an All-Australian again as a defender and a super athlete, ready to run this boy. Body-wise, his testing was elite. He's strong as a bull. And we rate a breakout year, unheard of in his 17th and 16th year. And a boy of 192, already 91 kilos. And just he's a hard player as well. He's got plenty of dash, a bit of Braden Maynard, I bet his competitiveness. So love all those attributes.
Yeah, he's all about his athleticism. Think of Griffin Logue, maybe, Fremantle now gone to the Kangaroos, where he's probably an undersized key defender, but a really good athlete who can play on talls and smalls. It's interesting, this pick, because the Hawks probably, when you look at their team, they probably are stacked in their back half. That's probably where their strength is as a list, with Sicily and Granger Brass and Will Day and a few others. They've got back their Giath as well. So interesting they've gone with Weddle, but he's a super athlete. I mean, his testing's as good as anyone. As we said, he's slightly undersized, but he loves to run and go, and he'll take the game forward, which seems to suit the Hawthorn backline. When you think about the other players we just mentioned, he'll slot in back there and provide a bit more bounce.
He really breaks lines with his depth in his kicking as well. It poses the question, Joey, with what you said about how stacked their defence is. Blake Hardwick, I think back to his underage footy, he was a goal-kicking full forward, and then turns out to be one of the best medium defenders that, you know, the Hawks have had in recent times. Maybe they see Josh Weddle playing a different role to a key defender. Does he push up onto a wing? And can he hurt opposition sides through the midfield with that penetration and kicking that we spoke about? And
so many footballers we see on draft nights were elite basketballers during their juniors. Josh is another one of those. We're going to join him now. Josh, congratulations. A dream come true kind of moment. How are you feeling right now?
I'm speechless, to be honest.
Well, we're going to make you try to come up with a few words, because that's what it's all about tonight. Can you talk to us about whether you'd had any discussions with the club? Did you have any inkling that this could be on the cards?
I had no idea. I think I was not really expecting it, but I'm super happy.
Josh, it's Mick Ablett here, mate. Just looking at those jumpers in the background there, if we scan around the rest of the lounge room, we're not going to see all, you know, another handful of jumpers around the outside of other AFL clubs just to cover all the bases, mate, or...?
They're just my junior clubs, so Templestowe, St Mary's, Oakley, Carey and, Vic Metro, so, yeah.
We'll give them all shout-outs. Well done. You must be really proud. I'm sure everyone at those footy clubs are really proud. What are you most looking forward to? Where do you see yourself playing at AFL level once you get into the system?
Good question. I'm probably in the back line, but, yeah, I'm happy if it's really anywhere, to be honest. I'm just excited for the opportunity, so...
Josh, you had a bit of an interrupted run-up to playing, injured in 2019. Obviously, COVID affected 2020 and then some injuries in 2021. So do you feel like you've put that behind you now and you can really sink your teeth into an AFL career?
Well, that's the plan. So, yeah, definitely.
And who do you give a shout-out to for your athleticism? Josh, we've spoken about your athletic profile. It's as good as any in this first round. Who's got the athleticism, your mum or your dad?
Oh... I don't know. I think mum's endurance, but probably dad's jumping and sprinting ability.
Good work. I'm sure they're incredibly proud of you tonight. Enjoy this special moment, and we look forward to seeing you running out as an AFL footballer in the not-too-distant future.
Oh, that sounds good. Cheers. Thanks for having me.
Well done. Oh, it's daunting, I suppose, being on national TV, being interviewed.
First time. He's enjoying it. But look, now we can celebrate with family and friends. It is a great moment. So Dad's pumped. Look at Dad.
With pick 19, Collingwood select Edward Allen from Claremont and the Mossman Park Junior Football Club.
The son of former Hawthorn Best and Fairest winner and Premiership player Ben Allen goes to the Collingwood Football Club. And interesting, Collingwood have announced today, usually they reserve number 35 for their highest draft pick, that Nick Dacos will keep that number. Of course, his father, the legendary Peter Dacos wore that number 35, so he will keep that, and Ed, I'm sure, will get an excellent number and begin his brilliant career with Collingwood.
Well, he becomes a big draft bolter for us, a boy that didn't play in the first half of the year, the son of Ben, of course, but we all expected big things from him. After one game of Colts footy, they put him straight in the stateside to play in the last of the national games. And he did quite well in that game, but when he really made a name for himself was when he came to the Combine. He became the quickest kid in Australia. And at 194 and running at the speed he did, everyone took notice. They went back and looked at all of the 6 games he ended up playing for the year very, very thoroughly. That's why he's bolted into being a first-round selection. Terrific kid at interview. No doubt he impressed all the clubs. It wasn't a case of if, it was a case of just when his name would be called out.
So, Mick, he's a star both inside and outside, so can switch between the two in the mids.
Yeah, that's correct, Sarah. Look, he's got the frame to be an absolute beast, this young fella, and he's one for all the punters out there to genuinely watch over the next few years, because the ceiling, it could be anything with this young fella. His calmness and his ability with ball in hand, he's very good in the glimpses that I've seen. And his ability just to stand up. He does not go to ground. So with a big frame like that at 194 centimetres, he will get bigger, make no doubt. Finds the footy roughly 25 times in a game too. So just look for this young fella. He won't be an instant hit, but give him a little bit of time, and maybe we do see another West Australian similar to Paddy Cripps.
Yeah, it's a long-term project, because really we like to give comparisons shifted to the viewers just to give an idea of sort of their style of play. It's really hard to find a comparison for someone at his size, 194, can play on a wing, could potentially play inside if he continues to develop his craft. But as you said, he's a ball winner. He knows how to find the footy, uses it pretty well, and with that height and that speed, he can play anywhere. Craig McRae's got someone that he can utilise wherever he wants him.
My comparison ended up being Nick Blakey. I found it hard for a while, but Nick is a big, tall boy. He's probably 3 years into his career now, roughly, and you're now starting to see what he can do. He's got an elite speed of half-back, and that rangy size you can mark it in the air as well. So I thought there were some comparisons there.
And it's always fun to watch the son of a gun begin their AFL journey.
And the poor old Hawks, 98 games, too short of father-son, and then he went over to be the first captain of Fremantle, and a great player for them before injury sort of stopped his career. So he couldn't quite get to 100 games to qualify at either club. And remember, he played some great footy at Claremont as well. Ben Allen, certainly star of the game during that expansion phase.
Should we switch the rules so that a premiership gets you the same qualifications?
Oh,
Premiership player with the club? No, you want the games?
Saints have only won one in 150 years, and we don't have any father-sons. So, no, I don't like that rule. No, but, no, look, he's one that I think maybe Collingwood are probably surprised it slid to 19. There was some talk that he might go high, so that's probably why they were so quick to jump. He would have been their highest-rated player on their draft board, so for them it was a no-brainer.
A win for the Collingwood Football Club. It is the Sydney Swans next, and as we've said before, they've shaped tonight. They've been movers and shakers, that's for sure, and we're looking forward to seeing who they're going to take here. Shifter, who do you think they'd be looking at? What kind of talent have we got left available?
Oh, gee, there's plenty. There's still plenty. Small forwards, the boy called Ollie Houghton, I think is a player. Jacob Constanti. There are a couple of smaller forwards. Both can get through the midfield as well. If you're looking to defence, we mentioned McCullum. You've got Lockie Cowan, another defender, a dasher. I liken him a bit to a Tom Stewart, that's talking at the top level, that you might end up coming up to that sort of standard. So there are many good players. We've mentioned also Lewis Hayes, the tallest of the defenders at 199. His brother Sam across at Port Adelaide, of course.
With pick 20, the Sydney Swans select Jacob Constanti from the Gippsland Power and the Druin Football and Netball Club.
Wild scenes there for Jacob and his family and friends. I don't think you can quite believe it. A wonderful moment in the footballing journey of this young man. And Joey, not only can he kick goals, he can create them, which is something all AFL coaches love.
Oh, I think John Longmire will love this kid, absolutely. You think about the Sydney Swans this year and their forward pressure with Tommy Papley and Will Hayward and those sorts of guys. This guy, we've never seen an underage player with that defensive intent to want to run down and tackle and chase from behind. But he's also got some creativeness with ball in hand. You can see there, he's not shy. He's prepared to take the game on. He's got a step. He finds ways to impact games. As we said, a small forward, it's always hard to necessarily stay involved in games, but he can do it on the scoreboard. He can get involved in score involvements, and if he's not doing that, he does it with his defensive work. There is a little bit of Tom Papley about him. He does love getting up in the opposition's face and being a little bit cheeky, so he's got a good role model there from Tommy Papley.
Sydney Swans fans will love it.
They will, and he's a dual sports athlete. He was playing soccer when he's 15, 16 years of age at a good representative level. It was only when COVID hit they didn't have soccer on. He went back to footy and went to the famous Druin Footy Club, the home of the Ablets from way, way back, Mick. He was picked up playing in the reserves at Druin. They said, this boy's too good for here. And they got him into Gippsland Power last year. And I love his zest. I love that word. That's what Tommy Papley's got. You've got some personality up there in that forward line, and you play with all that energy that puts pressure on the opposition, and you create goals to boot.
OK, well, we're going to head to Jacob now. Jacob, well done. You are headed to the Sydney Swans. You're going to be playing in a forward line alongside the likes of Buddy Franklin. You're just pinching yourself at the moment.
Yeah, I'm just in shock. I'm so honoured. I'm speechless.
Tell us about the transition, mate, from soccer. You played soccer. You were a very good junior, gone to AFL. How did that come about? And are you sitting here right now going, I made the right call?
Yeah, I'm so speechless. Through COVID, under 16s, Druin Footy Club reached out to me because there was no other sport playing. So played 3 games for them and stuck with the Sids, and I'm so
And we reckon, mate, there are some similarities with a bit of Tom Papley, the way you go about it. You love to tackle and get after the opposition. You got a bit of cheek. Have you modelled your game at all on Tommy Papley, and can you wait to meet him?
Yeah, Tommy Papley's a huge inspiration for me and idol, and I can't wait to meet him up in Sydney, and I'm just so excited.
I mentioned Buddy before. I mean, he's probably a Hall of Fame legend in the future. He's someone that every young player would want to play alongside. How exciting is the prospect of being in the same forward line as him?
I'm still so special. I don't know what to say. I'm like Buddy's, obviously. I've been watching him since I was so young. So, I don't even know what to say. I'm just so honoured.
Tell me, Jacob, with all the crew you've got behind you, who's going to get most excited tonight? Who's going to carry on the most after this?
Jacob, we'll let you go and enjoy this moment with your crew. We look forward to seeing you in Sydney Swans colours, and enjoy. He can't sit still. He's very excited.
And that's the raw emotion. I mean, he's just found out, literally 30 seconds ago that his dreams come true, and he's going to such a great club. I mean, we talk about the culture of the Bloods, and he's going to develop, beautifully. As we said, he's going to have some mentors, and they already play a great brand of footy, and he's just going to add to that.
Yeah, I thought, aren't they great scenes there? I thought he had some similar traits to a Jamie Elliott too when I watched him play. He's just that absolute pocket dynamo. He's an opportunist, and you just, by the look of those scenes, boys, I think that
Hardy's
little bit
just getting started.
Yeah, that little bit of cheekiness might run a bit deeper in the family too.
All right, we've got the GWS Giants up next at pick number 21. They, of course, at the beginning of the night, number 1 pick was Aaron Cadman, and they have been a big player throughout this evening. And as they look to reshape and rejuvenate their list under new coach Adam Kingsley.
Yeah, that's right. Well, they've already got their key forward. They've got an inside midfielder, so it'll be interesting to see where they go with their next pick. I think they would have loved someone like Constanti, a small forward who can apply some pressure and be creative. So it'll be interesting to see who they go with this pick.
Pick is in. It is the last pick of tonight, night 1 of the draft. Of course, it continues tomorrow with round 2 onwards.
With pick 21, the Giants select Darcy Jones from Swan Districts and the Kalamunda Districts Junior Football Club.
So Darcy Jones, shifter, may be small in stature at just 174 centimetres, but he had a taste of senior footy in the WAFL, thrives on the contest and pretty speedy to boot.
Well, he's speedy, all right. And have a look at his agility here as he steps around. And he broke a 14-year record that Stephen Hill had for agility. Blew it away, and you see that when you go back to tapes in the way he plays. He's got that step. Don't worry about his size. That won't stop him at all. He's an elite player, an elite ball winner with the speed to boot. At the moment, he's just at about 175 centimetres. He's not that tall or heavy, but he'll develop in the system. A super pro player in the way he plays. He was outstanding for WA National Championships this year.
They're absolutely going to need to put on some size, but they lost Bobby Hill. We know they probably need some more class and some smalls in their front half. They've got Brent Daniels, who has had some issues with injury, so I like this pick. So they've got some class and some talent, someone that can set up the play, and he might be lacing him out to Aaron Cadman for the next 15 years.
And he was just compared to Caleb Daniels, so we know his size hasn't been
well, the size is an issue for him, and there's some other players that size that have been able to make it to the grade, so he might have some challenges, but you can't question his skill and his commitment levels to be able to go. He's played some senior footy and played really well. He's played well in the wet, so hopefully it's not an issue for the youngster.
All right, we are going to take stock of what has happened in the opening round of the 2022 National Draft after the break. But a reminder, of course, the sport never stops on Fox Sport. We've got cricket coming up with the first test against the Windies beginning on Wednesday.
Welcome back to Test Cricket on Fox.
The Australians are on fire.
The Windies are right into this.
What a moment.
Thank you very much. What a cracker.
Welcome back to the National Draft, and here they are, the hottest young talent in Australia. The top players selected on night one. They are the future of our great game. Aaron Cadman, the Giants selection as pick number 1. It's been a red-hot start to proceedings, Joey.
Yeah, it has. It was a really good night. I think that's really up until about pick 13 or 14, it went almost to script. There weren't too many twists and turns, and then the Sydney Swans got involved, and it started to get a little bit more sort of awkward and a bit tense, but got through it. And I think every club right now, as they should be, are very happy with their selections.
All right, Shifter, we're going to have a look through at the top players. So Cadman picked by the Giants with pick number 1, Ashcroft going to the Lions, North Melbourne making the bid there and making them cough up some points, Sheasel and Wardlaw, and the benefit of North Melbourne having back-to-back picks.
Yeah, you've got the couple of goal kickers there in Cadman and Sheasel, nearly 100 goals between them in the year, and the rest are a similar type, the powerful midfielder. Often they're bigger, they are the 188 type. That's the prototype that is quick with a big tank as well. They've dominated footy, lots of All-Australians there, so you've based it on their form this year, which includes honours in that national championship, so a very impressive top 10.
Well, it's not a surprise, is it? We talk about the best players in the competition in the AFL now are these mid-forward type players that are powerful, they can kick goals, hit the scoreboard and go through the stoppages, and as Shifter just said, Mick, 6 or 7 of those top 10 are going to be those type of players in the future.
Yeah, and full credit to these young men as well. They faced a lot of challenges, didn't have an under-16 championship a couple of years ago, and didn't have the typical run into the draft like a lot of kids have prior to them. But you're right there, what we're seeing is genuine AFL talent that can step in and make a significant difference early in 2023.
And we can see there Fletcher going to the Brisbane Lions, another father-son selection. We had the great story of Bustlinger, who had been an Auskick junior back in 2012, giving Adam Goodes his premiership medallion, and Jefferson going to Melbourne, a project player in terms of the forward line.
Yeah, this is where there were some different sort of picks, some tall key position players, some elite runners, some small forwards. Elijah Hewitt's the one for me. It was interesting to see whether he would have gone at around this pick to the West Coast Eagles. If West Coast hadn't have taken him, where would he have slid to, and would he have come, would he have been a pick just not long after that, or maybe slid through to West Coast later picks? But yeah, it's been a pretty well-rounded draft, I think, as we said. A lot of midfielders in the top 10 and then some of those key position players in the next 10.
All right, we're going to head to Marvel Stadium now, where David Zeta has with him the list boss at the Bombers, Adrian Dodoro.
With Essendon list manager Adrian Dodoro. Adrian, pick 4 was the talk of the town tonight. How close did you get to trading it? What were the discussions like?
Oh, they were pretty intense. We were serious about seeing if there's any trades that we would look at. But at the end of the day, we really rated Elijah. We think he's an elite talent. So the trade needed to be fairly compelling, and it just wasn't, because we think he's going to be a really good player for a long, long time. And, he's 188, it's a beautiful size, he moves really, really well, and he'll just complement our midfield beautifully.
I saw you saying to Matthias Philippou there, obviously had a lot of interest in him. How hard was it to make the decision knowing that he wasn't going to be there by the time your next pick came around?
It's a tough one. You know, you do form relationships with all the kids, and he's a beautiful young man, and he's going to have a great career at St Kilda. But, to be honest, it was a tough call for us, and we were considering him.
How close did you get to getting him? How close did that call get in the end?
It was close. I think, the last 24 hours we made our decision, but it was close. But look, at the end of the day, we think that Elijah's a perfect fit for us, and he's going to be a really good footballer.
And the player you had in mind for your next pick in the draft, is he still there by any chance for tomorrow night?
We've got 3 or 4 really good options available for tomorrow night, so hopefully things can fall our way. I think there's 3 or 4 more picks to our selection, so hopefully another good night.
Another eventful draft period for you, Adrian. Well played.
Good on you. Thanks a lot.
So we will pick things back up tomorrow at 7 p.m. right here on Fox Footy as the draft continues. So for all of those players who didn't quite get picked up tonight, there is still hope, still plenty more selections to unfold. So we will be back here tomorrow night as more dreams are realised in the 2022 National Draft. You can catch all the action right here on Fox Footy.
This has been a Fox Sports production.